PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Watmere is your champion. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. We are now back once again for round 6 on the calendar. We head to Shanghai in China, and the championship is surely heating up. Frederick Rasmussen, can he be stopped? An undefeated run since round 2. The only time he hasn't finished on the top step was that DNF at the very start of the season campaign. Let's see whether he can do it again this time around, though. George Morgan here, your commentator alongside me, as always, TK Tom Knight. TK, we're going to be in for what I'm sure can only be described as a sensational race. Only one time prior have we raced at China here in PSGL PCF1, and it was Jarno Watmere who took victory after a Nicholas Longe pole position. What do you think we're going to see here tonight?
Well, as you alluded to, first of all, great to be back alongside you. Great to be here for another edition of PCF1, but it's going to be some fantastic racing. As you alluded to, only one time prior, so it could be that a few of our drivers are, let's say, less versed than typical racing at a track like China.
It was on the calendar for season 34, but it did not happen, folks. But we are back here this evening. Not very often do we come to Shanghai, but let's tell the story of what's happened lately. I mean, TK, obviously, the drama that unfolded last time, I will touch base on it later on, obviously, with the collision between Otis Lawrence and also Thomas Ronhaar. Ronhaar with a qualifying ban here tonight, which is really going to set him back in already a season that has not gone to plan. And again, Rasmussen has just been so good. Otmir, almost the supporter, I would say, in terms of what's going on at Red Bull right now.
Yeah, it's been a weird team dynamic that we're starting to see out at Red Bull, and I think if you'd come into the start of this season, and obviously if you know the hype around the Red Bull drivers, both of them in their own element are fantastic drivers, but I think the general consensus on the ground that it was going to typically be the other way around, but Freddie Rasmussen's really come out the gate swinging and proving why he deserves to be that top driver.
He certainly does, currently leading the championship at the moment, but most importantly, as of last week, or our last event that we had at Japan, winner at Suzuka for Red Bull, finishing ahead of Barry Burremand in the Ferrari as well. Ruben Pedreño with a fantastic result, it had to be said. Third place for the Williams driver. Jarno Opmeer finishing a very strong fourth after a late run on his compound of tyre. Then Ulas Zildrim, who's had a very strong season as well, and I must say he put in a dazzling display last time out at Suzuka alike. Joni Tormler also featuring inside the top 10. Of course, now a reserve driver these days. Julian Klaffenbach in P7 also impressed in qualifying as well as the race. A really strong night at the office last time out when we went racing at Japan. Hofland as well, featuring, of course, a prior race winner in PSGL quite a long time ago, though, and will need to try and find his way back to the top somehow, but he's making those steps in the Aston Martin. John Evans on his return to the series, first race back, and it's a top 10 finish for the Fringe. Alvaro Carreton down in P10 in the Williams. Double points for Williams as well, TK. A big night for them.
Absolutely. What a night to remember as well. Getting some good points not only for their individual drivers but for their teams as well, and that could give them the confidence coming into an event like we see here at China, where it is so important to work with your teammate, try and drag each other along, because obviously there's only 2 DRS zones here at China. You've got that incredibly long straight down to turn 14. So teamwork, although it may be outcast somewhat in qualifying, it may be the play in the main race.
What do you make of the whole scenario with the Thomas Ronhaar and Otis Lawrence side, TK? We saw it. We did a little bit of extrapolating ourselves after the race and obviously at the end of the broadcast. What were your thoughts on that moment down the long straight?
I think it's one of those instances that you almost have to take a step back from when we were sat in that commentary box as it was happening live. It was a chaotic instant, to say the least. It was, you know, one driver's making a reactionary move to try and cover over another that's got that extra bit of straight line speed towards the first corner. Do I blame Ronhaar for what he did? Absolutely not. It was a defensive move, and was it a little bit too late? Absolutely, and that's why he got the penalty for it. But I don't think it was maybe as meticulous as some people are maybe making it out to be.
And how do you think it's going to affect his championship? Because he's had his troubles, has he not? Obviously, after what we saw during the course of the start of the campaign, obviously we all remember what happened at Brazil, where he had the screen outages, things like that. Is it just a simple case he needs to dust himself off and start again?
I think it's a really tough one to extrapolate from what's happened at the moment. Obviously, he's had those incidents at Brazil that were primarily out of his control, and I think that's worth remembering, that it wasn't necessarily something that he's done wrong. He's had instances, obviously we look at the Netherlands, and then we move on to Japan, where he's had instances kind of 2 weekends in a row, essentially, if we exclude that week gap that we had. I think he's really not only got to take a step back, dust himself off, I think he's almost got to get out of his own head a little bit. I think that's where he's found himself. He knows he's got a job to do. He knows what he needs to do, but he's sitting so far in his own head, he sometimes fails to see the bigger picture in the race.
Yeah, and also now as we move ahead to the driver's standings, it's really heating up at the top. Obviously Rasmussen holding all the cards at the front. Red Bull just seemed to be in control, TK.
Absolutely. A dominant standing as they look amongst the top. Rasmussen and Opmeer up there. Lawrence not far behind, but there is an incredible gap between Opmeer and Lawrence that will have to be closed down if they want to try and take a shot at the drivers or constructors.
Yeah, and obviously then in behind you do have Otis Lawrence. Of course, Alpine have been on the wrong end of some bad luck lately. Obviously, Otis Lawrence now sat in third place, 33 points. Quite a ways to go in order to close the gap, though, up at the front. Lawrence showing that one-lap pace, TK, but when it matters most, I said it again, the great Bobby George, quali for show, race wins for dough. And that's the one thing that Otis Lawrence and Alpine are missing right now. They've had a sequence of poor results, really, over the last couple of races. I mean, just how much is this going to impact? Because on the by and large of it, it's not a long season campaign.
Not at all. And it's one that is ever decreasing as we go through race weekend and race weekend. We're counting down how many opportunities these teams and these drivers have actually got to score points in the end. And you've mentioned their one-lap pace. Alpine are absolutely flying when it's just them out by themselves. But again, is it that they're lacking that race pace, or is it just the instants are adding up time after time and really starting to push them down? Obviously, we saw the issues in the Netherlands, very similar to what happened to Ronhaar. He's had those 2 weeks that hasn't necessarily gone back to back as much as he would have liked. He's had the pit issues, and then he's had that massive incident with Thomas Ronhaar, would have meant 2 weekends in a row. He's essentially come home with nil points.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Obviously, Barry Burrowman featuring in fourth as well. Nicholas Longuet, who's showing certainly a lot of promise since his departure from the Scuderia. No longer Barry Burrowman's teammate. We have Alfie Butcher down in P6 as well, just ahead of Ismail Fassi by 5 points. Of course, we're still yet to see the best of Ismail Fassi so far, but there's been some honest, certainly some honest performances on Ismail Fassi's part. Pedreño down in 8th place as well in the championship, having a really good season so far. Highest Williams driver ahead of veteran Alvaro Carreton, obviously, who's down in 11th place. In between them, though, Ulas Azildrim inside the top 10 ahead of Thomas Ronha, who we mentioned hasn't quite really kick-started his season just yet. Very against the grain of what we've come to expect from the young Dutchman. Jonny Tormela in P12. We have Josh Edo there in 13th. Jake Benham not racing lately. He has no equipment. He can't race. So therefore, Jake Benham not taking part in PSGL competition as of yet, or at the moment anyway, until he finds himself some technology to work with. Berejne lining up in 15th. Like we said, Alpine having their struggles. Berejne has had his own as well. Julian Klaffenbach, a promising sign from Japan last time out. We'll see whether he can rise even further. Istvan Pukki for Mercedes down in 17th. Needs to put the work in. We haven't seen the best of Pukki either, honestly. Duncan Offlin, we mentioned prior race wins and successes in the past. Of course, looking to try and clamber for more this time. Tom Manley, again, a vibrant talent. Someone who is far too good to be down where he is right now. Reese Linton in P20. Also, we'll move ahead onwards into the team standings. Of course, Red Bull, we mentioned the dominance that they are on right now. Rasmussen winning 4 out of the last 5 races. An astonishing run so far. 92 points and ahead of Alpine now are Red Bull by an astonishing 52 points. There's a lot of work here for Alpine to do. McLaren sat even further back on 28. 2 points ahead of Ferrari in 4th. Aston Martin on 23 down in 5th with Kick Sauber in 6th place ahead of Williams v Carb. Haas and Mercedes level on points. Just how on earth do Mercedes come back from this, TK?
I really don't know, and I wouldn't want to be sat in their camp at the moment having to come up with these strategies and distinct possibilities, let's put it that way, of what they can do to turn this team around. If you look at the lineup that they brought to races maybe week in, week out, you've got Istvan Pukki, who's had some of the best racing that I've seen on the F1, well, back on F1 24, and of course Lucas Blakely, a proven champion both on and off the virtual track. So it's been one of those that's been a tail flipped on its head. You'd never expect Mercedes to be down at the bottom, but yet here we are.
Yeah, here we certainly are. Now we can take a look at the season's grid. This is the grid that was confirmed for the start of the season. The grid we expect to see should we have every single driver available. Otis Lawrence and Danny Berejne lining up at Alpine, Duncan Hoffland, Nicholas Longuet at Aston Martin, Barry Burrowman and Ismail Fassi together at Ferrari, Reese Linton, Joris Krozen at Haas, Thomas Ronhard, Julian Klaffenbach at Kick Sauber, Alvaro Carreton and Ruben Pedreño at Williams. Tom Manley, Ulas Azildrim at RB. We have Jana Watmir and Frederick Rasmussen. What a combination at Red Bull with Istvan Pukki and Lucas Blakely looking for their very best at Mercedes. And of course, Alfie Butcher and Jake Benham lining up at McLaren. This is tonight's grid though. Few changes, as you can see. Josh Edo steps in at Alpine alongside Otis Lawrence. We also have Tycho Hardy stepping in at Haas as well alongside Joris Krozen. Thomas Ronhard serving that qualifying ban. That's why QB is against his name. He's still racing though when we get down to the 5 red lights later on tonight. Further down, Wilson Hughes making his return as well for McLaren. He'll be lining up alongside Alfie Butcher. In terms of the calendar, we have already swept through the first 4 races, the break, and also round 5 at Japan. We are here tonight at China with Belgium also coming up next. A vibrant calendar here we certainly have for this season, season 40. Jeddah then comes into play for round 8, Qatar for round 9, break week again, then Bahrain, Australia, Mexico, Vegas, and the grand finale on fireworks night. Of course, bonfire night, November 5th, Abu Dhabi, which will certainly light things up, and we'll certainly see whether we will see a showdown for the title when we reach that precipice. Let's find out together, of course, folks. Now, obviously, there's a lot of action now starting to occur finally out on track. Things have been fairly quiet up till now. This is the first time we've seen the cars properly stretch their legs out there right now, TK. It's been a very quiet start. We've only got 8 minutes and 50 left.
Yeah, it's one of those weird phenomenons that I think we only see in the top level of F1 esports. You have a qualifying session that is essentially empty for over 50% of it. We've got, as you were saying, just over 8.5 minutes to go. Nobody set a lap time. Obviously, Thomas Ronhaar has already retired, serving that qualifying ban. We've had a couple of drivers go out on reconnaissance laps, but in the grand scheme of things, not many have opted to.
Yeah, and obviously, folks, we can talk about numbers because you know how much I love numbers. TK knows anyway. We're here celebrating potentially a Jarno Opmeer 50th race win this evening. How about 50 podiums in PSGL PCF1? That could be the milestone the Flying Dutchman hits tonight. Of course, the most successful driver over a qualifying stint is Barry Burman. 18 pole positions, TK, against his name, surpassing Jarno Opmeer by 6 poles throughout his history in PSGL PCF1.
Yeah, and one of the fastest drivers over a singular lap and has the statistics to prove it as well. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Alpine want to try and come for that this season, because certainly they have been on fine form when they're against the timer's watch.
Yeah, certainly have been. Otis Lawrence already setting the pace in the first sector. It's a 23.701 at the moment. Purple, higher than his teammates so far. Of course, Otis, we mentioned how good he is over one lap, but surely Nathan Tague and the Alpine team have had to really sort of digest the goings-on of recent races. Things have not necessarily gone to plan by any means. They would have wanted better results than this. Nathan Tague, the team boss of Alpine, like I said, part of the G2 Esports organisation. They're now taking over the very running of the Alpine sim racing team at the moment. Otis Lawrence, who started so brightly, TK, in terms of poles scored this season, 3 against his name, higher than anybody. The only driver to actually take more than 1 in this season so far, and was also a victor back at Brazil. We thought at Brazil that he would be the man to catch. Is that still the case?
In terms of qualifying, I think absolutely. He's that driver that over a single lap is locked in. Does he lose that focus over the greater 50% races that we then have to come and deal with? That's going to be the great question of time.
Yeah, certainly will be. Nicolas Longuet also making his way around the circuit. Like we said before, former pole sitter around this track back at season 29. And that was a long, long time ago. We're talking 11 seasons ago, folks. But Nicolas Longuet goes second fastest, but ahead of Josh Edo so far. Still at the moment, no one holding a candle to Otis Lawrence just yet. Ruben Pedreño pops in to fourth fastest as Barry Burman returns and goes third fastest here this time. Duncan Hoffland across the line goes fifth. We have Julian Klaffenbach popping up into third as well. Some movements from the McLarens as well, as Wilson Hughes goes 8th. Here comes Tycho Hardy as well across the line, and he'll go 10th fastest, as now the second McLaren of Alfie Butcher will look to join his teammate. But it looks like no time necessarily set on to the board. Plenty still to come, though. Frederick Rasmussen also making his way around the final corner, looking to enlist his first lap time of the session. 4 race wins on the spin, 5th fastest so far here in Q1.
Yeah, sorry. Rasmussen setting the fastest second set. I took all my Red Bulls mixed up there. I shouldn't be reading chat whilst I'm trying to remember driver names, and especially as they're both at the Red Bull camp. Could only, though, put his RB in 5th place. Couldn't quite elapse up towards the likes of Lawrence or Fashy, who have both gone incredibly quick in their opening stints here at the moment.
Yeah, well, here comes Jarno Opmeer, as we said before. Of course, 50 podiums could be in the palm of his hand by the end of play today. We'll soon find out. 10th fastest so far, though. You can bet your bottom dollar he's going to come back out and go again. Alfie Butcher still continuing around the track. He's invalidated this lap as well. So currently the only driver that has actually gone out for a run. I don't think Pookie is even... Oh, no, that's a lie. Actually, Pookie has been out onto the track. But both drivers at the bottom at the moment, yet to set a lap time. Of course, Thomas Ronhaar will not partake in this session. He is undergoing that qualifying ban. That is why his name is grayed out onto the screen, folks. And a little reminder to all of you at home as well tuning in, we are proudly supported by Sim Racing Setups now, a proud partner of PSGL. If you want to get a hold of those setups, you almost certainly can. Make sure you check out the website, use promo code PSGL to get a discount off your order as well. Access to use the same setups that various of the top pros do, and certainly the drivers that race in PSGL contributing to sim racing setups alike as well. So be sure to check them out. A proud new sponsor for Premier Sim Gaming Leagues, and we welcome them with open arms, TK.
We certainly do indeed. Fantastic to see the guys over at Sim Racing Setups on board. Hopefully a longevitous partner going forward for us here at PSGL.
Fingers crossed indeed. A lot of activity, a hive of activity in the pit lane. As now we see them make their way through and park up before we then get set for the final runs here in qualifying. At the moment, as I'm looking at my monitors on screen at the moment, we have 3 minutes and 35 left in the session. And currently the track showing 28 degrees in terms of temperature, 20 degrees in the air right now. And every single driver coming into the pits. Frederick Rasmussen seemingly seeing it fit to retire from the session, so no question Otis Lawrence is going to follow suit, as is Nicholas Longe, Julian Klaffenbach, and Ulas Isildarim feeling quietly confident. And you never know, obviously these drivers know what a great lap is around this track more than anybody. So there we have it. Obviously it's a bold step though, isn't it, at the start of every qualifying session, TK, to be bold enough to make that claim that you think you're not going to be surpassed by anybody else.
Yeah, it's that risk versus reward. Do I save an extra set of tyres potentially for Q2 or Q3 with the banking and the knowledge that I am safe to go through? But when the margins are so fine, like we're seeing here at the moment, they are just incredibly close. Less than 100th of a second between first and sixth, who have all retired, and actually less than half a second all the way down to P17. So there's a real gamble that goes on in these opening stages.
Yeah. Of course, many drivers that are coming into PSGL PCF1 for the first time looking to make names for themselves. We've had many. I was actually looking through the old stats of drivers that have come and gone in the past. I had a table full of a list of drivers that have raced at least one race in PSGL PCF1 since season 27, and I had about 3 A4 pages, TK, of drivers that we have had that have come and gone since. Of course, many new ones have come in this season. If we think about Joris Krozen, who's come in recent seasons. What about Tycho Hardy as well? Both of whom have made their F1 sim racing debuts as well. But we're starting to see some more of the young blood coming through, and there's plenty of them starting to work their way through. And when they look at these numbers that some of these drivers are possessing, I mean, we're talking Jarno Opmeer's 24 race wins, the 49 podiums, as well as the 12 poles. You look at Barry Burman, 15 wins, as well as 31 podiums, 18 pole positions as well. It's hard to believe that Alvaro Carreton has only got 2 wins, and he has been here since the walls have been put up.
Yeah, it's sometimes that is the ebbs and flows that you find with situations, but it shows just how competitive the environment that they find themselves in at the moment. They're all fantastic drivers on their day, and they prove that day in, day out. The open lobbies that some of these drivers do over on their own personal Twitches, they are absolutely rapid against, I mean, you or I'm sure if we hopped to the lobby, we'd be absolutely dominated by a few of these guys. But if you look at the names that have come through this series, it really shows the competitive nature. I mean, heck, we can't really go this weekend much without talking about maybe the sister platform over on PlayStation. I don't know if IGK Zacho 6 rings a bell or so.
Actually, we need to talk about that. Former PSGL PlayStation driver, F1 PlayStation driver as well, Isaac Hajar, everybody. Some of you might know him as IGK Zach, and I'm talking from years ago. We want to say a massive congratulations from all of us here at PSGL. Former PSGL PSF1 driver IGK Zach, now a Formula 1 podium sitter as of Zandvoort last weekend. Congratulations to Isaac Hajar, and hopefully a win won't be too far around the corner if he keeps going the way he is. I have to say, he was giving Max Verstappen somewhat of a headache towards the end, and I mentioned this, I think, to you, TK. We were watching the race together. To me, Verstappen was on totally the wrong strategy in terms of the tyre compounds that he selected. And Hajar got everything right. If it wasn't for that last safety car, I think Hajar could have been P2.
Yeah, we were making those sort of early predictions in the little voice chat that we were in, and I was almost certain that Hajar was going to get Verstappen regardless of whether that safety car came in the end or not. And it's fantastic to see how they can take those skills that they obviously have had before, take them into the highest level of esports, and then prove it on the real-world circuit as well.
No question. Istvan Pukki will not set a time, unfortunately invalidating that last run. And I must say this puts pressure on Alfie Butcher as well at this very late stage. The young Brit now coming across the line will claim safety. Alfie Butcher will move through. Pukki the first eliminee. Second, if you include Thomas Ronhaar. Joris Krozen remains 12th fastest. A spin across the line for the Alpine of Josh Ido, and he is almost certainly not safe as he crawls his way back around, looking to try and solidify his place in the session. Wilson Hughes out of qualifying. We see some more late movers. Duncan Hoffland, now Butcher down in 10th. We have Joris Krozen remaining in 13th ahead of Josh Edo. Tom Manley right on the bubble looking for safety. Blakely's out as well. Both Mercedes. The pain continues as Tom Manley moves into third fastest, and that means that Wilson Hughes, Tycho Hardy, Lucas Blakely, Thomas Ronha, Istvan Pukki, they are out of qualifying, and more misery for Mercedes. TK.
Well, that's not the qualifying that they would have wanted in the slightest. You've got to hope for better. I mean, if you're talking maybe a little bit more strategic, you've got to do better. When it comes down to qualifying, you are at the bottom of the constructors at the moment. There has to be work put in there.
Well, Otis Lawrence, fastest again. He has not lost that one lap pace at all. And just look at this, folks. A 10th of a second between P1 and P10 right there. Fassi, Manley, Longe, Klaffenbach, Pedreño, Rasmussen, Caraton, Otmir and Azildarim. That's your top 10. We then have Burraman, Hoffland, Butcher, Krozen and Edo. They'll go through to Q2. We say goodbye to Wilson Hughes, Tycho Hardy, Lucas Blakely, Thomas Ronha and Istvan Pukki. Hard break for those bottom 5 drivers that will not be making it through. And bear in mind, Lucas Blakely, a former PSGL F1 champion on the PC platform, and that same season went on to win the F1 Sim Racing World title for the first and only time in his career as well. And now he is out once again. What is going on at Mercedes, TK? What is going on there?
Absolutely no idea, but whatever it is, they have got to get either someone in to steady the ship, or they've got to find a brand new steering wheel for it, because at the moment it is heading sideways, and they got, by the looks of it, absolutely no recourse to get that ship straightened up.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Fine margins, folks. Fine margins between the entire grid, though. Once again, we see mere thousands separating drivers through the course of the sessions that we, of course, do witness. We're now back underway for Q2 already, folks. You don't miss a thing when we're broadcasting, obviously. Myself and TK happy to bring it to you week in, week out on a Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Make sure you tune in and make sure you leave a like and also subscribe if you're watching on YouTube as well. If you are tuned in on Twitch, please make sure that you leave a follow. Of course, a relatively new platform for us. We haven't done a lot on there, but we are going to be broadcasting week in, week out on that platform also. And also new to PSGL is TikTok. Be sure to spam that like button and also leave a follow, folks. Stay up to date with PSGL when it goes live, and also check out the reels that get posted. Lots of highlights that are there for you guys to enjoy. But now Q2 is underway. The car's out on the circuit. You're going to be in for a treat. Check out the socials as well while you're at it, at Premium Sim GL. TK, where did you see Q2 going?
Well, the question is, who's going to fall foul? I think we might have maybe a couple of incidents, maybe a couple of drivers misjudging how the track evolves, because we've seen that time and time again over the course of PCF1, and they don't quite gauge how the track is ramping up right towards the end. One thing, though, I think is probably worth mentioning, obviously now that the lobby resets have been metaphorically thrown out the window, I am hearing word of a little bit of rain come the race.
Well, TK, I've got my beady eyes on the weather forecast. I have to tell you, it does look a little bit wet there. I'm seeing a few clouds on my radar anyway, at the very least, and the percentages, whilst they're not overly high in qualifying, they are there. So whether we do see a late twist in even qualifying, let's wait and see as we now see them get underway for their next run of fast laps. Obviously, the first fast laps we're going to see in Q2 so far. Julian Klaffenbach will be the first to go. And, of course, then in behind, quite the train, a Williams featuring in behind. And Williams have had a very strong season, a double Spanish representation here. Alvaro Caraton, who's been part of the team, the longest-serving driver, as well as alongside Frederick Rasmussen, to remain with one single team through the entirety of his career. And it's a vibrant career that continues as well, TK. Forever steadies the ship. Alvaro Caraton, also twice a race winner in PSGL PCF1. And Ruben Pedreño, arguably, finding his feet in the Williams car as well.
Yeah, you've got that nice balance amongst the drivers where you have almost the experienced hand that has proven themselves already, and they have the knowledge, the experience, and maybe the integrity as well to try and steady and hold that ship if things go a little bit awry. Pedreño's come in, that brand new driver, eager for wins, eager for podiums, and potentially could also help push Caraton up ever so slightly, because you then have that assistance of, you've got the second driver really wanting to push themselves more and more forwards. That's only going to try and help that first driver, or at least encourage, shall we say, that first driver forwards, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, well, I must say, Yearning for purple. That's what the two Ferraris are, because it was purple in the first sector for Barry Burroman. It was purple in the second for Ismail Fassi. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on those as they cross the line. Julian Klafferbach will be the first. He'll set the 131 in place. One car darting straight into the pits. That is Ismail Fassi, who lost that purple middle sector time. Joris Krozen goes first fastest. We also have purple in the middle as well for the Red Bull up at the top. That is, of course, Frederick Rasmussen, who goes straight to the top now, this time alike. And we've seen a jet of cars coming straight into the pits, TK, even Ismail Fassi and Barry Burroman, who were looking relatively quick on that opening lap.
Yeah, I'm confused about that one. I was looking at the timings. Purple in the first sector for Barry Burroman, as you alluded to, wasn't too far off the pace in the second, maybe a couple of hundredths, nothing more than that, but easily recoverable in the third. I wonder if they must have had something happen in that third sector, both Ferraris, to come in at the final time of asking.
Really bizarre. It was a 23.872 in that first sector for Barry Burroman. If you want context, folks, it was a 24.303 for Frederick Rasmussen. Just look at that gap, TK. We're talking, in terms of margins, you're talking nearly 0.5 of a second between them there.
Yeah, it's close, but in the terms of PSGL PCF1, that's where that gap starts to feel like an absolute crevice that they're going to have to climb
massive.
through.
It's like Grand Canyon worthy in that first sector, really. So there we go. So yeah, bold step. 10 minutes to go. We've got some insight from Jake Benham actually in the chat. We do love having Jake Benham with us as well, folks. He says they won't have enough time to get both cars in and out for their last two laps. So they have decided to prioritise the final run, TK. Likely looking to pull off the double run.
That's interesting that they've chosen to go with both drivers doing 2 runs instead of one driver maybe doing 3 runs. There's a slight difference when we talk about equality versus maybe putting the team slightly first. Maybe they can't decide which of their drivers they wanted to send out for. Oh my goodness.
My goodness, Freddie Rasmussen. Where on earth are you going, sir? Overtaking in the pit lane, that's desperation, and that's exactly what Jake Benham was talking about, the urgency to get back out onto the track ASAP. So, Frederick Rasmussen, now that's an illustration, folks. It just goes to show there isn't enough time as far as the drivers are concerned in terms of getting a late lap in. So that just goes to show Freddie Rasmussen desperate to get back in for a fresh set of boots and to go again to try and enlist himself a time to confirm Q3. Sheer desperation, TK.
Absolutely, and what I was saying, it was Ferraris choosing to prioritise both drivers instead of putting a number 1 driver sticker on essentially one of their drivers who would have got that priority. It's equality in the face of potentially trying to push one driver slightly further forwards.
Yeah, bizarre. Well, let's keep our eyes peeled. Nicholas Longuet out earlier, like we said, pole sitter back in season 29, the only occasion we've actually raced here in the past. Like I said, we nearly raced here back in season 34, but the race was cancelled, of course, later into the season. Obviously, there have been some reports of some issues with the track in the past. Hopefully this time we have no concerns here on F125 as we now watch Nicholas Longuet make his way through the in-swinger and then down the long straight. We've still got 8 minutes and 20 left to go, but without any doubt, I'm sure they're going to be taking on some extra fuel, TK, going for that double run that we seem to be seeing a lot of at the moment, and we'll see how Longuet's pace is levied up. Obviously, a driver looking to prove himself, TK, because he's on the market at the moment. He's left Ferrari, needs a new home.
Yeah, and where he finds that home, I think, is going to be the great mystery at the moment. When you've left a prestigious team as you have, you've got to find someone that either is to a point that you want to try and race for them for personal reasons, or maybe you want to try and race for them for competitive reasons. And the question for him is, which one of those do you prioritise maybe the most in terms of your negotiations?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is it. I mean, at the end of the day, Longuet's got to prove himself. He needs to try and lay down the big results. If it's going to happen, then it needs to, in order to levy himself a contract in his favour, because it's not going to be long. I mean, judging on or basing it on prior times we've gone racing in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, you know, obviously we're talking mere months now, TK, maybe even less than that. So, you know, you really need to start marketing yourself here in big leagues such as PSGL, PCF1, for example. If you show your very best, if you show what you're capable of, then teams are going to queue up to sign you.
Absolutely, and they will be wanting to have you because you're proving or you're that proven driver, you've had the results, the backing speaks for itself essentially. And you're absolutely right. If we go by historic seasons, we should be expecting driver announcements probably within the next couple of months, if not next 6 weeks.
And no question, it's probably going to be a little bit of silly season as well. In fact,
Yeah.
very much silly season, given where some of the drivers have come and gone. Obviously, we've noted the likes of Lucas Blakely, former champion, departing from McLaren. Not many of us thought that was ever going to occur. We thought he would, not necessarily begin his career, because he certainly didn't begin his career at McLaren. It was all about Racing Point when he first joined. But later on, of course, winning that title, now he no longer represents them. The tyres screaming as Nicholas Longuet comes down through towards the hairpin this time. He is green in the first two sectors, looking to jump his way higher inside the top 10. Let's see where the Frenchman goes. Here comes Nicholas Longuet and goes fastest. There you go. The track is certainly in a stage of evolution, TK.
Yeah, 6 cents faster than Freddie Rasmussen's previous lap time. The track well and truly starting to bed in. Fasci will be following across the line, but it's Borman that goes quicker by the barest of margins, putting Scuderia Ferrari back on top.
And it might be his teammate that actually usurps him, Ruben Pedreño, now sitting third with a 1:30.5. Otis Lawrence up into third. Here comes Ismail Fassi, first time on the board. 2 Ferraris now inside the top 3 this time around. We also have further movements because Duncan Hoffland has gone purple in the middle sector this time around. We're waiting for other cars now to cross the line. A ferry full of them now making their way through, including Julian Klappenbach, who goes third fastest, the sole representative of the Kick Sauber team. As now across the line goes Josh Ito into 7th place. Yet more movements though, as they keeps populating the timing tower as we're trying to click on these drivers. But now Burraman sits on top, as now Rasmussen comes across and goes 7th quickest as well at the same time. But here comes Caraton now, invalidated his last run, TK. Not a great run at this stage, but he does have time. 5 minutes to go.
No, not the best. Well, not the best situation to be in at the moment, and a driver that kind of shares his pain. Alfie Butcher not only invalidated his last run, but actually invalidated it to the point where this current run will also not count. So, with the time ticking down on the timekeeper's watch, he's not got much of it left if he wants to put in a competitive run.
Yeah, we're talking about 4 minutes, about 40 minutes? 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the session. Trust me, folks, it's not going to be that long as we watch Q2 unfold. We do, of course, have the final runs coming in. They will be coming in thick and fast because the drivers are now going to spend time charging up the car, at the same time trying to conserve. Because whilst, of course, you get that initial lap out, TK, if you're doing that double run, that next lap, you need to be as conservative as possible with that tyre set.
Yeah, you don't want to put any additional wear on them than you would already want to. You know, you want to get them up to temperature. You want to get them in that optimal zone where they're going to be as grippy as possible to grab onto the track surface as you try and fling that car, essentially, through corner after corner after corner. But the more and more wear you put on them, the less and less grippy they're going to be. Whilst that car's at minimal fuel load, it's kind of a balancing act between the two things.
And now you can really see where the time has come into play. So it looks like they're not going to do the straight double run necessarily, but they're looking to get 3 runs in quali. And I'm just looking now, 3 minutes and 33 remaining. And every single car is in the pits, and I can bet you, folks, that as soon as they go in, they're going to jump straight out once more. Barry Burraman still at the very top, 1 minute 30.4 at this stage. I can tell you that the top 7 are all inside 98 thousandths of a second. It is so close. The gap between Ps14 to Ps1, well, that is just over 3.5 tenths of a second. We're talking nearly 3 3/4 tenths. That is the sole gap. Nothing beyond half a second at all or anywhere near it. It's 66 thousandths between Burraman and Longuet at this stage. That goes to show the fine margins. The 2 former teammates at Ferrari currently sat in the top 2 placings. Longuet, of course, very friendly with Barry Burraman. They were very close during their time together in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. I called them the Knights in Shining Scarlet at that time, where they mustered that incredible 1-2 feat at Vegas 2 seasons ago. But now they are no longer teammates. They are now contenders. Contenders against one another, and they are both the first 2 out on the track for the final run here in Q2.
Yeah, and they'll want to try and get that optimal piece of track position. Essentially, the track is ramped up. We've talked about that over numerous seasons and numerous races in the season. But the better the track is for your individual run, you'll have that extra little bit of advantage, which when the gaps are so close like they are at the moment, 66 thousandths of a second between Ps1 and Ps2, then that could just be the edge to trying to knock yourself up the board a little bit.
Yeah, no question. Watching Longue now heading through the middle sector as we speak. 2 minutes to go in the session now, and it's all about the preparation. Everything, every moment, every inch of this track surface counts, and Nicolas Longue knows that better than anybody. Started his career with the Red Bull team what feels like a long time ago now in terms of F1 sim racing. Has driven for many different teams. Of course, we can also factor in his period with Renault/Alpine as well. Also, well, marking his appearance at Ferrari at the same time. He has certainly been a relentless force and someone who has come so close to incredible success in the past, the young Frenchman. And his family live and breathe sim racing as well. Of course, his father, Christophe Longue, a very integral part, the business owner of Virage Sim Racing gloves as well. Of course, other gloves are available, folks. But obviously, the Longue family very well into their sim racing. And of course, Nicolas does have a brother as well, Matteo Longue, who also races in sims as well in league racing on the F1 game. But now Longue is going to get started on his next, you would definitely fathom, his final run here in Q2. And now it all comes down to this, TK.
Certainly does. Just under a minute left on the clock, 46 seconds to be precise, and the Red Bulls have got their work cut out if they want to get to the line and have some clean air at the same time.
Yeah, no question. Riding on board now with Nicolas Longue as he flies down through towards turn 2, and now back on the power as he feathers his throttle now into gear 4, 5th, 6th, and now 7th as well. He has stormed right down through towards the next heavy braking zone at the end of this straight at turn 6, entering sector 2 this time around. We'll keep our eyes on the sector times for you folks at home. It was a 23.705 in that first sector, still quicker at the moment than Barry Burman's first sector last time, as well as he now storms through the middle sector, looking to hook the car round straight away to the left before taking the next semi-straight on the run down towards turn 11 before he enters sector 3 proper, TK.
Yeah, he's got to try and get this corner right. As you hit the heavy braking zone into turn 11, you've got to get the car rotated. Checkered flag has flown, so we've got no more laps can commence from this point, and it's all about the current lap that our drivers are on.
Yeah, no question. Nicolas Longue coming out of the hairpin at turn 13, or the in-swinger, now heading down the long straight. This is where we'll probably see, by and large, a majority share of the overtakes through the course of the race that we'll have coming up later on this evening. Heading into the hairpin bend now at turn 14, 15 to come. Longue certainly not taking the long way round. Looking to enlist himself, though, a long way up, higher up in this Q2 ladder. Looking to storm past his former teammate, Barry Burman, and does for now. A 1:30.3 becomes the benchmark. Barry cannot surpass him. Remains third fastest as well. Here comes Alfie Butcher. The carving knife comes down in Q2. He remains in P3. Carreton, our first casualty. He's out here in Q2 thus far. Joris Krozen, fifth fastest. Moving up, Julian Klaffenbach. Great lap as Otis Lawrence storms to the top this time as well. Taken by Ismail Fassi straight away at the same time. Ruben Pedreño right on the bubble of elimination. He could be out as Duncan Hoffland moves 7th quickest. Also, Josh Ito eliminates Pedreño. Williams lose both cars in the space of one session, and Tom Manley out as well as Frederick Rasmussen goes 2nd fastest. Last and certainly not least, Jarno Opmeer, who will come across the line. Does he secure safety? We'll find out shortly, but Rasmussen, 2nd place here at the end of Q2. I'm not sure where Jarno came in all of that. He just about scooped safety. Krozen out as a result. Ismail Fassi, your fastest man on circuit for the Scuderia Ferrari team. Frederick Rasmussen in 2nd, ahead of Otis Lawrence in 3rd. Then comes Nicolas Longue, Julian Klaffenbach, Barry Burman, Ulas Azildrim, as well as Jarno Opmeer, Alfie Butcher, Duncan Hoffland, Joris Krozen. We say goodbye to him, as well as Josh Ito. Heartbreak, semi-heartbreak for Alpine, losing one car. And Ruben Pedreño, Tom Manley, Alvaro Carreton out. Both Williams is out, TK. It's going to be a tough race for them in the middle of the pack.
It certainly will, and it's a really tough place to be stuck in the middle of the pack here, because you have that run down towards turn 1 and 2, the snail as it's more almost infamously called in various circles, but you've got that run down where you don't want to be caught up, because we do quite frequently see cars go 3, even 4 wide on opening laps, and it's so easy just to have an opening lap tangle. Yeah,
no, it is. It is so easy. I mean, obviously, it's tough for the Williams team. I think Jarno Opmeer would be breathing a small sigh of relief. It came at the very end of play. We weren't sure where he was going. A few people in the chat were obviously speculating, oh, he's out. He's out. No, he wasn't. P8 at the end of the day. Obviously, Red Bull still in the firing line. But promising signs for Ferrari, TK.
Absolutely. 2 drivers into Q3 at this stage of the qualifying, they couldn't ask for any more, and clearly the bout of equality that they showed, understanding that both drivers wouldn't get in and out for those 2 final runs, or the 2 runs they wanted to do, it's really paid off for them here big time.
It has. I mean, obviously now we're coming down to the nitty-gritty. This is where, obviously, laps essentially matter the most, because this is all about the shootout. Where do you see this one going? Because obviously poles, by and large, Otis Lawrence has been impressive. Obviously, there's been a few frailties creeping into his sessions as of late. He needs to put that on the back burner. Do you see him being surpassed this time, or do you think he can recapture his best form?
It's a really tough one to try and judge. Obviously, if we look at what happened in Q1 and Q2, it was kind of so diverse that it's not really giving us that obvious answer that we may traditionally see. If we look back at rounds gone by, it was generally maybe 2 or 3 drivers right up at the top that were putting in those lap times after lap times that were proving to be towards that provisional pole position. But I don't think here we've seen that from anybody to try and really distinguish themselves from the class, so to say.
No, not at all. Well, we're back here with Ismail Fassi out on the circuit. An impressive lap as well at the end of playing Q2 to strike himself at the very top. This man, TK, has been absolutely astonishing in his time in F1 sim racing as well. I mean, if we look back at his time in F1 sim racing, a contender for the title last campaign, and really came in a breath of fresh air the season prior as well, taking Williams to the top and gifting Williams their first win in F1 sim racing competition as well. It hasn't happened often for them. Just how key is he for Ferrari success for the future?
I think he's one of those drivers that has come in as a young talent. He'll be nurtured through Ferrari's program and hopefully provide them with more wins than we saw, obviously, in that outset at Williams. We've had fantastic racing shown from him, both in PSGL but also in that elusive land competition that they all strive for success at. I think, if anything, it shows that maybe he is a mark for the future.
You know, Fassi only actually a winner here in PSGL PCF1 once, but 6 podiums in his time in the series as well. Hard to fathom, really, when you consider the performances he pulled out through the course of F1 sim racing, but it shouldn't be a surprise that he is scoring at least multiple podiums. I'll probably look ahead to the rest of this season and see whether he can raise the stakes once more, this time in a Ferrari. And of course, there is a difference, isn't there, I suppose, to a certain degree, when you move out of one team. Not to say that Williams haven't got a grand heritage. They have a grander heritage than most teams on this grid. But when you associate yourself with a team like Ferrari, of course, more synonymously known in the realms of real-life motorsport, but still, to don the badge, represent the badge, even in sim racing, it doesn't get, I suppose, better than that in many ways.
No, not at all. And you could see from all the announcement posts, the announcement videos that went out when Fassi was announced to be a driver for Ferrari, you could see the smile that he had on his face. And it was so genuine, because sometimes you have these driver photos where it's a little bit of a forced smile, a little bit of a fake smile, so to call it. But that was pretty much cheek to cheek, beaming smile with pride and joy.
It was indeed. A little reminder, folks, if you're brand new, obviously remember, PSGL now partnered with Sim Racing Setups. Get hold of your pro setups and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. We welcome Sim Racing Setups as a proud partner of the PSGL PC F1 World Championship, and indeed PSGL as a whole as well. Be sure to stay tuned and up to date with all the broadcasts that occur on this channel, and make sure you check out Sim Racing Setups. We do appreciate their support for this series as well. And, of course, get involved, folks. And you never know, we might see you on the grid in the near future as well at the same time. But now, as we get set ready for Q3, 7 minutes and 37 to go in the session. Nicholas Longuet, once again, out on track. Looks like he's going to be the first to lay down a benchmark at the start of Q3 this time around. Obviously, plenty of other drivers on the grid looking to show their very best. Julian Klaffenbach, another impressive session. Q3 again, TK.
Absolutely, and one that I think he'll be happy with and getting through. Obviously, we talked kind of last time out as how he managed to pip out his teammate. Not really in the same format here today. Obviously, Ron Haas having that qualifying ban. And if you are just tuning in, that's what happened to Thomas Ron Haas. Starts down in P20 in today's race. But again, a very solid performance. And I echo words that I've seen in the live chat over on YouTube. If he doesn't get signed by Sauber, I'd be surprised as to what quite's gone on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely shown enough in terms of his pace and promise as Julian Klaffenbach, and I do wonder whether this is just sort of the the taste tester. I think many teams, they obviously love to facilitate PSGL as a way to sort of evaluate drivers. And I would say Julian Klappenbach, definitely a driver that's trying to show his very best in this league format to give himself the best chance of pushing for that big contract. Purple in the middle sector, no surprise for Nicolas Longue being the first in Q3 to muster it across. At the moment, though, fastest first sector goes to Otis Lawrence. At this stage, Barry Burroman has just nicked the purple middle sector, and guess what? Lawrence is back again. Purple in the middle sector once more here for the young Welshman. So Otis are going to come back with a bang here. Remember, of course, it ended in a bang for him at Suzuka last time, like TK so rightly said, leading to the qualifying ban for Thomas Ronhaar, as now he watches Nicolas Longue will set the first time onto the board here in Q3 at China. Opening up the rear wing, DRS open, 130.2 to kick us off. He'll be closely followed by his former teammate Barry Burroman as well. Julian Klappenbach will come across the line, remain second fastest. Here comes Burroman this time, surely to usurp him, and he will. Second fastest for him, and Otis Lawrence, as if by magic, converting two purple sectors to go to the front, but hold the phone. Ulas Azildarim also going faster. Fassi going into first fastest by a mere 27 thousandths of a second. Ulas Azildarim, though, TK, purple in the middle sector and bombing down the long straight.
Absolutely is, and the driver that we've talked about numerous times on this show as just to how competent he can be when he gets behind the wheel of a race car. He really loves to put in those lap times, really loves the consistency that comes with the forms of GT racing. Are we going to see a little bit of magic here this afternoon? Almost certainly, as Ulas Azildarim goes fastest at his first attempt here in Q3.
Certainly does. Here comes Jana Otmir as well to end the first runs here in Q3. Benchmark laid down by Azildarim. Otmir will certainly not upset that benchmark that Azildarim has laid down. 11 thousandths of a second separating Ulas Azildarim. The Turkish wonder kid has come back again, of course representing his home nation, a proud representative of Turkey as well, and has been not just racing on the F1 sim racing calendars, but also in GT3 sports car racing in sim racing as well, with ESL R1, of course now known as Rennsport R1, like racing for FaZe Clan before then moving to Team Redline as well. Hence why he's driving an RB, of course, all under the Team Redline banner. And Azildarim, you could argue, a little bit unfortunate, had all his points in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship from last season removed after a disqualification at Mexico, which I must say took me by surprise, TK.
Yeah, I think it took quite a lot of us by surprise watching along at home, and I'm almost certain there's a few of us questioning that decision and what quite went on there, because, okay, to have your points from one race taken away, sure, for a disqualification, you could justify that, but to have the entire sort of points all removed, I think there has to be something talked about there.
Well, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? I mean, the top 10, can I just say this? 999 thousandths of a second between the top 10. I appreciate it's actually just under a second, but I just love the fact that it's 999. Don't call an ambulance, by the way, folks. It's not that severe, but the top 10, the only 10 in this classification, separated by 999 thousandths of a second. 11 thousandths, though, if we factor in the top two. Fassi in second place, 38 thousandths between Otis Lawrence and P1's Ulas Azildarim as well. The top four inside of 57 thousandths of a second. Minute gaps, everybody. One mistake will cost you everything. And we've got 3 minutes now to decide who's going to take pole. Will it be a sensational result for Ulas Azildarim? You just simply never know. I certainly wouldn't want to write him off, TK. He has definitely proven to be a firm contender and inside the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship so far.
Almost certainly, and there's a reason that he gets up into these Q3 positions. He gets up into the positions that he finishes races in, because he is a fantastic driver. And I'm going to say this again, as is all of our grids that we've got here this afternoon, but inevitably, someone has to take pole position. At the moment, it's in the hand of the Turk.
It definitely is at the moment, so don't write him off, folks. Do so at your peril. Azildarim has certainly proven in the past that he can certainly race with the best of them, and has done so on many disciplines. And no question, he could yet cause a stir this time around. Has never once achieved a win or a pole position. He has had one podium against his name, but today could be the day where Ulas Azildarim nets his first pole position in PSGL PCF1. We'll wait and see whether he can do so. He's got Ishmael Fassi for company behind him as well, with Otis Lawrence in third. Nicholas Longay in 4th as well. That's your top 4 at this stage as Longay now makes his way around the circuit. Again, out in front. Now, this is interesting. I don't think I've seen Nicholas Longay outside of the front end on an outlap at all throughout the course of qualifying tonight, TK.
No, he's normally been one that wanted to try and lead from the front. I would say lead by example, but I think lead from the front has been how he's loved to run things here at China. Maybe loves a bit of the free air and wants to try and have no distractions in front of him, because we know how critical that can be and how easy it can be to get distracted if you've got cars maybe doing an incredible lap just in front of you. You want to hit your own marker points, let alone what they're hitting just in front of you.
Yeah, obviously get your predictions in the live chat, folks. We want to hear your thoughts as to who's going to take Q3. Light up that live chat. TK, where do you think it's going?
I think my early bet's got to be on Longay here.
It's got to be Nicholas Longay, says TK. Can he do it again? The only driver to secure pole here in PSGL PCF1 at this very circuit. We've only been here once before. Can he make it 2 from 2? We'll find out now very shortly as he now storms down through towards turn 1 with the DRS now open firmly. Further back, Alfie Butcher will be second in closing out a lap time. He's looking to move himself up from 8th fastest into the top end. Longay, though, with a shorter distance to travel as he now makes his way down through turn 2 and turn 3, and now whipping the tail out down through towards the heavy braking zone at the end of this semi-straight. A little kink in the course though that sends you through out of turn 5, out of sector 1 in towards sector 2 proper, and it's purple, or it was, as Otis Lawrence has now grabbed the purple first sector so far in this session. 23.581 so far is purple for Otis Lawrence inside that first sector, but not a bad start for Nicholas Longay, TK.
Not at all. He's got some work to do, though, as he makes his way through the second and the third. It's all important as you make your way through 11, 12 and 13. That sets up that incredibly long run down towards turn 14, which I guarantee will probably be an overtaking central come race time.
No question. 27-1 in the middle sector. Ulas Zilderim trying to push again. Buramanda's gone purple in the middle sector this time with his own 27-1-2-2. So it's all lighting up towards the end of qualifying. The first man to lay down a time will be, of course, this man on your screens, Nicholas Longay. Further back, Alfie Butcher looking to try and usurp him as well. Ulas, who's looking to remain on top, could yet also be the man to do it. Barry Buramanda's taken the fastest middle sector as now we watch as Longay storms up towards the line to register his final time. Goes fastest for now as in comes Alfie Butcher, 5th fastest for him, as now Ulas Zilderim back on top once again. Goes fastest, Barry Buraman won't. He'll remain in 4th. What about Julian Klaffenbach? He goes 3rd onto the second row provisionally alongside Ismail Fassi. Otis Lawrence not pole today. We'll move on to provisional 4th place as now Duncan Offland moves into 9th. What about the Ferrari of Barry Buraman? He remains in 6th. Next up, the Red Bulls. Rasmussen only enough for 7th. Jarno Otmir will cross the line finally, and I don't think it's enough for pole. It almost certainly isn't. 7th place for Jarno Otmir. It's the first pole position in PSGL PCF1 for Ulas Ozyildirim. What an occasion to do it in. 44 thousandths clear of Ismail Fassi, who will join him on the front row. It's Nicholas Longay on the second row in 3rd, followed then by Julian Klaffenbach on the second row with him as well in 4th. Otis Lawrence in 5th. Barry Buraman then down in 6th place with Jarno Otmir down in 7th and Frederick Rasmussen in 8th. Alfie Butcher in 9th. Duncan Hoffland in P10. And can I just say this? 44,000, 71, 75 thousandths between the top 5, TK. You couldn't have it much closer than that. But Ulas Zilderim, congratulations. Pole sitter for the first time ever in PSGL PCF1.
Fantastic stuff from Ulas there. Absolutely superb, and less than 0.4 of a second spread across the entire grid there, or at least the top 10 as it stands. So fantastic to see all of our drivers hitting their marks and just how close the competition really is.
Oh, it is very stiff indeed, folks. And I must say, we're going to be in for a real treat. Just a little reminder as to where we go racing tonight. We are here at Shanghai, China, 5.451 kilometers, 3.387 miles in total. 16 corners are going to light up the drivers here around this circuit. Plenty of technical zones as well, plenty of zones for overtaking. Very wide is the circuit itself, and some long straights for the drivers to cope with, especially down the long one coming out of turn 13 down to turn 14, one of the longest straights you're going to see in the Formula One calendar, and of course followed up by the DRS zone at turn 16 down through towards turn 1 as well. But certainly the thoroughfare of overtaking is surely going to happen coming out of turn 13 down towards turn 14, where the speed trap exists at the end of the straight. Plenty of width for the drivers to deal with. It's going to be supremely tight. I mean, TK, when we go racing here at this circuit, this Shanghai circuit that of course opened up back in 2004. I mean, we've witnessed many great races. It feels like it's been around longer than that.
It really does, and I think, you know, it's one of those tracks that almost is ingrained in Formula One history at this point. As in, you know, you look back at the first few races that it really held, the memorable moments that we've really had there. I don't want to upset too many Lewis Hamilton fans, but quite notably Hamilton ending up in the gravel as he entered into the pit lane. That was just one of those classic Formula One moments.
It certainly was. That's a little reminder to our last race result, folks. Of course, we witnessed a fantastic battle back at Japan. It was eventually won by Frederick Rasmussen, who went on to take his 4th win in succession in PSGL PCF1 and finished ahead of Barry Burman as well. Ruben Pedreño with a phenomenal 3rd place, Jarno Watmir in 4th. Ulas Yildirim was 5th back then, as well as been really consistent right through the course of the campaign, and with a win today, who knows, it could be his first win in PSGL PCF1 here tonight if he can convert pole to victory. Joni Tormela in 6th last time as well, with Julian Klafferbach in P7, Duncan Offland in 8th, John Evans on his return, his first appearance since returning to PSGL action, in 9th and taking his first points on F125 in this series as well. Alvaro Carreton in P10, finishing ahead of Joris Krozen, and then Alfie Butcher, Otis Lawrence after the big crash with Thomas Ronhart. That, of course, led to Ronhart picking up a quali ban for tonight's race, with Lucas Blakely in 14th ahead of Nicholas Longe, who was a retirement. So was Ronhart, Ido, as well as Xander Van Dyken, Tycho Hardy, and Istvan Pukki, who's had a really tough season as well alike. Looking ahead, obviously tonight, this is the driver standings as we head into tonight's festivities. Of course, we are running here at China this evening, and the standings post-Japan show Freddie Rasmussen at the heights of the top of the standings, 65 points ahead of his own teammate Jarno Watmir. Red Bull very much in control at the moment. Otis Lawrence, who's had some pretty unfortunate affairs over recent races, pointless runs in our last 2 visits at Zandvoort and Suzuka, and that's why he currently sits 3rd and slightly disconnected from the back of Rasmussen up at the top, with Barry Burman in 4th ahead of Nicholas Longe, Alfie Butcher, Ishmael Fassi, who will be looking for a staunch recovery this time around, starting on the front row alongside Yildirim, with Pedreño in 8th. Yildirim currently 9th in the standing. With a big win today, that could see him jet right up through the entirety of the top 10. Thomas Ronhart, after the qualifying ban, he's going to have to fight his way higher and higher through the order, and I would imagine a strategy mission is going to be on the cards here for Thomas Ronhart, who's currently ahead of Alvaro Carreton in P11. Williams haven't had a bad season so far. More points to be won for sure, with Joni Tormela down in 12th, Josh Ido in 13th, Jake Benham in 14th. Of course, without a rig at the moment, can't compete on PSGL, well, in PSGL races at this stage until he gets some technology under his belt, with Danny Berejnay in P15, joint on 7 points with Julian Klaffenbach, Istvan Pukki in 17th, Duncan Offland 18th. We then have Tom Manley and Reese Linton 19th and 20th. In terms of the team standings, a little reminder, Red Bull in control, 92 points, and currently ahead of Alpine by 52 as it stands. McLaren in 3rd, Ferrari in 4th, Aston Martin down in 5th, Kick Sauber in 6th, and then Williams in 7th, V-Carb in 8th, with Haas in 9th, Mercedes still chasing their tail as well, level on points with Haas, but P10 in the standing, and it doesn't look like things are going to get any better, TK, considering where they're starting this evening.
No, not at all. I think they've got a lot of work for them to try and do this afternoon, and are they going to be able to try and pull out the bag? I think they're going to have maybe a near perfect race if it's going to happen at all.
Yeah, that's you know, obviously sane words cannot be spoken any more than that, really. PCF1 lineups, this is how the season looks. Otis Lawrence, Danny Berejne in Alpine, Aston Martin, Duncan Hoffland, Nicholas Longue, Barry Burraman, Ishmael Fassi, Reese Linton, Joris Krozen at Haas, Thomas Ronhard, Julian Klaffenbach at Kick Sauber, Alvaro Caraton, Ruben Pedreño at Williams, Tom Manley, Ulas Azildrim at RB, Jana Watmere, Frederick Rasmussen in as well. We also have Mercedes, Istvan Pukki, Lucas Blakely, Alfie Butcher and Jake Benham at McLaren. And of course, tonight's grid, some few changes there. Some of the teams bringing in their reserved drivers. Josh Ito stepping in at Alpine. And then further down, we have Tycho Hardy stepping in at Haas alongside Joris Krozen. Thomas Ronhart with the QB against his name. That means qualifying ban, folks. Still lines up here tonight, though, alongside Julian Klaffenbach. And Wilson Hughes stepping up for McLaren here this evening alongside Alfie Butcher. In terms of the calendar, a slight reminder for you guys at home. Of course, we have Brazil lined up and Texas, Britain and Netherlands. We've already consumed those with break week also finished as well. We finished Japan. We're on China here this evening for round 6 and we now have Belgium, of course, starting round 7. Then comes Jeddah, Qatar, break week to come, and then Bahrain, Australia, Mexico, Vegas. The grand finale will feature Abu Dhabi on Bonfire Night, November 5th, where fireworks will surely launch for our champion, whoever that may be. And of course, a little reminder, it'd be rude not to. Of course, it's sim racing setups. Unlock extra performance, one and all, with Pro F125 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL, esports and stable setups for every track, quali race and wet setups with optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates created by the drivers racing in PSGL with pro support compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99 at simracingsetup.com. Use code PSGL for a 5% discount as well and get your hands on these, folks. Get involved and you never know, you might be on the grid in the not too distant future. But there we have it, folks. We're looking forward to tonight's race. I'm personally looking forward to it, TK. Obviously, the second time we've raced here, only the second time, of course, here in China. And I, for one, can't wait. It's not Longue this time. Ulas Azildrim making it 2 different pole sitters that have raced here in this series now in the 2 occasions we've been here and have taken qualifying sessions. Of course, though, we have to question, will it be Azildrim as a race winner or will Otmir go back-to-back here at China?
I think that's the question that almost everyone will be asking. There's a lot of deficit that Otmir's got to overcome. If you can remember back, he's starting all the way down in 7th place, has traditionally gone for that alternate strategy in recent weeks. He likes to go the longer tyre to start and then will work his way back through the field. It hasn't been too successful for him, though. So are we expecting him maybe to stay with the traditional format for these early races?
Well, of course, we will have to wait and see. Obviously, it wasn't a great qualifying session from Red Bull. I have to say there's work to do, TK. Rasmussen, obviously starting further down inside the top 10. Remember, Otmir qualifying 7th fastest. That puts him on the back foot. Do you think we're likely to see, once again, I mean, we've seen Otmir continuously trying different things in terms of strategy through the course of races. Tends to favour finishing fast as opposed to starting fast. So going for those lengthy stints, finishing quickly. Do you think that will be a repeat again here at China?
I think it's something that he's proven that he's absolutely incredible at. It hasn't gone to his favour, though, in the last few weeks, but I think China's one of those circuits that certainly could make it work. You've got the long straight to make the move, which I think he's really been missing in the 2 rounds that he's really tried to run it. If you can remember back to the Netherlands and Japan, they've only got really those smaller straights to make the overtaking possible. China now unlocks this. He's got 2 long straights back to back to make the moves, and then he gets close on the fresher tyres throughout sectors 1 and 2 and makes them pay in sector 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Obviously, the question is, will they try something different? We will wait and see. Obviously, let us know, folks, as well in the live chat. I want to hear from you, your predictions as well for tonight's race. Let us know who you think is going to win. Do you think it'll be Azildrim? Do you think it'll be Fassi? Of course, Ferrari with a great chance here, TK, to levy the points in their favour. I mean, they're in a great position. Fassi on the front row. You haven't got Barry Burraman too far behind, really. I mean, you can almost work together as a team, really, to kind of convene the result more or less in your own favour.
Absolutely, and that's what teamwork and having your teammate really pays off with. You have that driver in many essence to work with and maybe work together to get that greater goal of a Constructors' Championship, but also you've got them there as essentially a pawn in your own strategy. to try and move yourself forward if you so wish.
Well, we've already got some predictions here. Abtin Kazemipur saying BB7, which of course Barry Burraman is the tip. Herbod Karting also saying Barry as well. Sahil, or Sahil, sorry if I'm butchering your name, Sahil Jain. Otmir, he's going for. Keep the live chat cooking, chat. We would love to hear from you, and you can give us your insights as to who you think's going to take the race win here this time around. Lisbon Chari saying Otmir as well at the moment. If you want to get involved as well on social media, you can, folks, at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We are, of course, live on 3 platforms as well this evening. If you are watching on YouTube right now, where we have been broadcasting since the very beginning for Season 27, back when PCF1 first began, leave us a subscribe and also leave a like. If you tuned in on Twitch, I should say, please leave a follow. If you're watching on TikTok, spam that like button, also leave a follow as well at the same time. I can already see Barry All Day says Avesta. Ulas Dub I'm seeing up there as well. Elvin Golden Top saying Otmir. Red Bull 1-2 says Rip Steery. Obviously feels that the strategy is going to work. Tom Knight wins the Chinese Grand Prix. I believe that can happen. TK, give us your thoughts. Weigh in on that if you please.
I'd like to say it's definitely possible if we're talking about alternate strategies and alternate universes.
As in your alternate strat of perhaps, you know, flying out of your bedroom window and then launching yourself to Shanghai.
Unfortunately, yes.
Incredible. Well, guaranteed you'll get the fastest lap anyway. I would imagine so. We'll give you that one. Yano Otmir Goat says Galaxy. What else? We got Daily Mesh saying, or Daily Meme saying Otmir as well. Barry says Bertie Ryland. Yano says Aram. Ishmael says Adrian as well. Goatmere after China F1 Esports. You might be right, Akshat. We also have George Morgan, definitely for sure. Thank you, Versus. Appreciate it. Me and TK are 1-1 now at the moment. It's going to be Frederick Rasmussen, says Cheese. Who knows? Could it be 5 in a row for Frederick Rasmussen? Is that even possible, TK?
I think possible. Well, where do we break down the difference between possible and plausible?
Well,
it's always going to be
give
possible.
Me both
Is
takes.
it plausible?
Give me both.
Well, the possibility, absolutely. There's 20 drivers on the track. There's a 5% chance that each one of them technically wins it. If you want to do the statistics, I'll happily do about an hour's lecture on the maths if you really want to. Plausibility.
I want algebra, TK. I want algebra and equations. I want to see it.
I'll get a whiteboard behind me for next stream so we can go through it all in depth.
We're going to Big Bang Theory this thing up. I'm telling you now.
But starting from where they're starting, I think they've got a long shot if they want to try and pull their way through. Plausibility, probably very unlikely.
Oh, well, there you go. You've heard it here first, folks. TK's got all the answers. I can tell you. Believe him. Take it to the bank. We've got Sonny Hayes will run away with it, says Nathan Hood. I'm afraid Sonny Hayes not racing here this evening. Jack Kelly, ULAS legacy performance. I got to say, really impressed with ULAS lately, TK. Yeah. What a phenomenal effort in getting himself to the top at the end of Q3. I mean, pole position, goes a long way in PSGL, without any shadow of a doubt. We've seen drivers come and go, have taken it time on time. Some drivers have had the fortune of being sequential pole sitters over lengthy periods in PSGL. I'm thinking of the likes of Barry Burraman, who holds the record in terms of most pole positions here in PSGL PCF1 at 18, if I'm not mistaken. But your first one is always so special, is it not?
Absolutely. It's one you will remember for time and time and time again. And you can look back on and say, look, this is what I've done. There's video proof of it as well, if you really want to break it down that much. But you look at the statistics that we bring up week in, week out, that we know who's taken pole at any given race because it is something for the history books. Yeah,
it definitely is that. It's one of the Red Bulls that wins tonight, says Cheese. When does the race start? We're waiting at the moment, Lucas Ritzmeyer. If you're on this screen, I can guarantee the race is not starting just yet, so you have to be a little bit patient, but we'll keep you updated as time draws on. Adrian Blackmore-Martin saying, ULAS always performs very well in China. He took pole in esports last year too. He certainly did. Had a great run in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. Did ULAS arguably played second fiddle to Tom Manley back in the first season they shared together back in 2023-24 as well, TK. Do you think he's deserving of more of a frontline position?
I think that the performance that he's shown today, but over the course of this PCF1 season, is a name that keeps coming a cropper, keeps coming up in terms of what is going on. I don't think there's any stopping him if we head into another F1 esports season, because he is proving that he not only wants to be that top driver in a team, maybe also deserves to be there as well.
Well, currently he's proving that he is certainly more successful than Tom Manley at the moment, given his position in the championship. Let's take a look at the the track map of where we're going once again. We're heading to Shanghai, China, if you've just joined us. 5.451 kilometers in length, 3.3 miles, and of course 16 turns await our drivers. We're getting set to go racing for only the second time in our history here in PSGL PCF1 at Shanghai in China. We're looking forward to it. We're going to be in for one hellacious ride around this circuit as we now take a look at what's going on in the pit lane at the moment. I can confirm that the lobby is indeed loading up. We're waiting any moment now to get underway, folks. I must say, TK, the anticipation is killing me.
It certainly is. And I can confirm we had to set the grid 3 times because we had a game crash and then we had someone getting kicked out of the Actually, it was the same person as Ruben Pedreño, so blame him.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, it's not your fault, is it, TK?
No, I definitely not my fault at all.
It's not TK's fault. It's not TK's fault, so stop accusing him, live chat. I see you. We're getting set ready for the start of this one. Obviously, it's been an exciting qualifying session. Ulas Azilrim starting on the front row of the grid. Better yet, pole position alongside Ishmael Fassi. The sun is shining currently at China. Could we see changeable conditions? That has been the talk of the town, of course, as we all know. We looked at it in qualifying. You never know. It could be here and joining us later on in the session. It may be bright for now. Who knows? We might see the dark clouds coming across. Of course, there's going to be quite a big battle up at the front. Don't back out. Well, certainly do not dismiss the attempts from Red Bull. I have no question they've got a finger up their sleeve here for the strategy. Let's see whether Rasmussen and Otmir can lift themselves higher to continue their fantastic run they have had so far. Rasmussen, in all of his finishes this season, of course, had that one DNF at the start of the season. Every other result so far has been a victory. He's on a 5 straight win run so far. Can he be stopped? The Great Dane is on a rampant rise and, of course, is a former F1 sim racing world champion as well, and arguably the most successful one in history. TK, your final tip, if you please.
Final tip, go fast, don't crash, and hope for a good race.
Yeah, I was going to say don't eat yellow snow, but I'm happy to go with yours. But yeah, let me know in the live chat as well, folks. I want to hear from you. Well, certainly the live chat is going to be looking at the 5 red lights because they're all lit here at Shanghai. And without any further ado, it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. It's a decent start for both Ulas Azilrim. Fassi might have been slightly better, though as they come through turn 1, it's wheel to wheel, and now the RB holds the top, holds the front, holds the cards in P1, and it's wheel to wheel further back between Kloppenbach and Otis Lawrence as well. Barry Burman down in 6, Ido, Lawrence now up into 4th place as he looks to go side by side with Kloppenbach, and it's 4th for Gotis Lawrence now as he looks to try and challenge side by side further back. Barry Burman and Otmir, and Alfie Butcher is out of the race, TK.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened to Butcher there. Managed to find himself off in the side. I think that's Alvaro Caraton as well, facing the wrong way. The Williams 3 drivers that have faced issues right at the start. Lucas Blakely heading off in turn 1, and now he's got a bit of a redemption drive in that Mercedes.
And Caraton with some serious problems. He's got to self-right himself now as he looks to get himself back underway. Duncan Hoffland now into P11 as well, as overtaken Ruben Pedreño here on the opening lap. Also now sits on the cusp of the top 10 as they now in-swing their way through the next right-hander through turns 12, 13, and later down the long straight before they hit turn 14 alike. Hoffland on the rise as now we take a look at the tyre choices. It's a split between mediums and hards, TK.
Yeah, understandable from this point of view at the moment. Caraton retires down in P19 after having a spin that saw him into the runoff area, but we are seeing moves potentially in the offing down towards turn 14 here.
Yeah, well there we go. Ulas Azilrim now taking it through the final corner. We're going to close out this opening lap. Red flag.
Lobby restart, unfortunately desync faced by the drivers, so we will be restarting.
Well, there we go. Red flag confirmed, folks, by, I'm going to call it race control. We've had some problems with what looks to be desync by the looks of it. Every single driver leaving the session, so that is it from Shanghai for now. We will be back, though. Do not go away. We will be back live very, very soon. As you can see, the drivers now leaving the session. We'll go back to the comm screen for now. I can tell you that all the drivers are currently crashing right now. We, of course, saw Alvaro Caraton having some problems. I mean, this isn't ideal anyway, regardless, TK. Even if you have a lobby restart, you obviously have that mindset now. You've had a race start, you've had a blip, you've had a crash. Of course, you're delighted you're going to get a second go at it, but on the other hand, maybe that frailty lives in your mind's eye.
Absolutely. It's a real balancing act when it comes to, you might have had a really good start and you might have been in an element where you want to try and push your way forward, but you've got that nervousness, that almost pre-race nerves coming over you all over again now, because you've got to go and face those 5 red lights in front of you.
You absolutely do. And obviously now the drivers have got to try and get themselves back into the right headspace. Obviously it was a great start from Ulas Ozildirim, obviously, to take the lead onwards and carry on. And I have to say he did a great job to at least hold on to the lead. Obviously now he's going to have to do exactly the same thing again. It was wheel to wheel, nose to tail. I thought for a split moment Fassi was going to have the upper hand coming through turn 1. Of course he later didn't. Of course Ozildirim was able to carry the speed a little bit more effectively around the outside. But there we go. Again, they're going to go once more as the lights go red for the second time at Shanghai, China, folks. But do not despair. We will, of course, be back for yet more action from Shanghai very shortly. So do not go away. In the meantime, we could talk about some stats from prior occasions of us coming to this circuit. And I mentioned, of course, that we came here once before, back in season 29. Only our second season of PSGL PCF1, to be precise. And can just tell you this, if you want to know the results from what happened back then, I could tell you that Jana Watmere was, of course, the winner. We know that by prior fact. It was second place by Lucas Blakely on that occasion. Look how the turntables, I suppose, nowadays started from the back of the grid. And, of course, we have Nicolas Longuet finishing third. Wasn't able to capitalise after the pole position and did eventually, despite obviously not winning, did finish on the podium in P3. That season, though, Jana Watmere went on to win the title. 3 wins, 4 podiums, and 3 pole positions. So I will say this, if you win at China, at the moment, it suggests that it goes a long way to you securing the championship.
It certainly does, and it's one that seems favourable. Obviously, we have got, I don't want to get too back into maths and statistics, but we've got a very small sample group, let's put it that way, when we come down to these sort of statistics. It can help, and it's proven to be a very successful one on a run down, but the question is that going to survive in terms of a historical moment after tonight?
Well, we'll soon find out. I mean, obviously, it's a bit of it's a bit of a mystery, I have to say. But we are in the session now, folks. We're waiting to load in. We're just all queuing up in the lobby, so do not despair. We will be back for yet more action here in a very short moment. I was just going to pile in and yet again extrapolate some more historic stats just to give you guys some insight as to where we are at the moment. I don't know why I was trying to use my keyboard to control my laptop, but that's incredible. I have to say, this just goes to show desync isn't only in the game, it's also in my brain as well. Jana Watmere sitting pretty on 24 wins so far in PSGL throughout the entire time he's raced in the championship. That is, of course, just PCF1, folks. I'm not including the stats that he had in the PlayStation platform. This is exclusively to PCF1. 24 wins since, of course, records began back in season 27 now. That was back in 2021. And, of course, 49 podiums. He could capture his 50th podium here this evening. 12 poles against his name. Barry Burman, second in terms of the all-time statistics. 15 wins, 31 podiums, and 18 pole positions. Has got quite the gap between himself and Otmir in terms of podiums, but has been a ruthless contender against Otmir in the past. But who knows? I would never count out Burman. You can never count him out. There's a reason he drives for Ferrari. He has been there and done it over many times. Tends to have his best form at the start of a season's campaign. So this is where things can get sticky for the rapidly fast Iranian. Alvaro Caraton currently sat on 2 wins, 13 podiums as well for him. He's also captured 3 poles in the past. Danny Moreno, who is no longer part of the series, 3 wins, 9 podiums, and a pole as well. Who can remember the massive contentious battle that he shared with Jana Watmere? I remember races like Red Bull Ring, TK, where they collided at the top of the hill at Remus Corner at Austria. But it's truly, we can tell many stories from our time broadcasting PCF1. We've had many drivers come and go. Obviously, Philip Prejnader, former Ferrari driver as well. I remember the days of Alessio Di Capua when we thought he was going to be a real contender at the top of the shop. Unfortunately, it never went to pass. He would eventually leave the series. But, of course, many drivers coming and going. As we mentioned, we got new drivers coming in thick and fast. We mentioned the likes of Joris Krozen. Also, the likes of Tycho Hardy, who's come in to join the series, has favouring young talent at the moment, TK, and they've done that very well in the past, and they've cooped, I would say, some 2 really decent drivers. Joris Krozen showing some bright sparks over the last season or 2.
Yeah, he really is one of those drivers that wants to try and start making their way forward. And I don't think, obviously, he's had the best qualifying here. Obviously, starts P11, exactly pretty much slap bang in the middle of the pack. So has a lot of drivers in front, a lot of drivers behind, but also has that kind of legroom, so to speak, to really open up as he makes his way through. His teammate Tycho Hardy down in 17th, 6 places behind, so may not have that assistance in the Haas camp.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, my goat is David Tanitsa, says Versus, as well at this stage. Obviously, the former F1 Sim Racing World Champion from 2019, the Italian, who's now racing in real life, believe it or not, taking part in single-seater racing around Europe at the moment. And we do wish David Tanitsa well. The last time I actually saw him was at Spa-Francorchamps when I was over there commentating for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. He was coming in, taking part in some GT racing as well that weekend, and also coming in representing at that time, I believe, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo team at that point. So yeah, it's truly marvellous. I can tell you the session is now loading in, folks. We're now about to get started here at Shanghai, so do not despair. We're keeping it with you, of course, right through. Me and TK will help you along. In the meantime, we'll take another look at the track map, because why not? I love showing it. This is where we are going tonight. TK, your thoughts on the main overtaking zones?
I think fairly obviously, out of turn 13 into turn 14, obviously the run up towards the first corner, they're the 2 DRS zones in the circuit, so typically the places you'd start to see those moves be made. If you want to talk about places we may expect to see moves as well, into turn 6, the little kink right-hander of turn 5 does sometimes provide just enough space to try and slot 2 cars in. And of course, we can't really talk about this without talking about turn 11, that really acute left-hander as we prepare to go into the long back straight. Quite often, we'll see drivers dive their nose down the inside and almost force the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of space for the drivers to obviously make their moves. And that long straight, as you mentioned, the one with the speed trap at the end, coming in towards turn 14, a prime spot to unleash the power of the DRS and indeed dump the battery if you have got plenty under your belt. It's going to be a strategy, certainly a task of strategy for these drivers, not just speed and power control. This track really does encourage the drivers to envelop everything around racing, does it not, TK?
Yeah, you've got a real mix of everything. It's one of those tracks that almost suits itself to this style of racing so well. It's got a mix of high speed, low speed, medium speed. The fact that you really have to excel at a little bit of everything, or really excel at a specific type of corner if you want to try and be successful and have that almost make up for your downfalls in the other types of corners, because there is just nowhere to be safe on this circuit.
Yeah, it definitely is. And as you can see now, we're now watching trackside inside the pit lane at this stage, getting set ready for the start of this race. Don't go away. We're going to bring you some action. I promise you. As now we watch and see the bright skies still existing out there at China. We'll have to wait and see how the conditions are going to fare. Will they change as we make our way through the session? But all 20 drivers are going to give us a feast of action. That's for sure. On the front row, it is going to be, of course, Ismail Fassi in P2. But on pole position, Ulas Yildirim for the first time in his history of racing in PSGL. As they now return with 5 lights lit, and they go out. It's pedal to the metal, and it's go! Great start again. Ismail Fassi better though. This time was Ulas Yildirim. Ismail Fassi forced to remain in second. And around the outside comes Otis Lawrence as they now storm 3 wide now. Coming through turn 1 in towards turn 2. Klappenbach trying to hold on. In comes Nicolas Longuet, squeezing down the inside, coming out of turn 3 and giving a mighty roar as they storm through. Longuet captures P3 ahead of Julian Klappenbach. Buramanda's got Otis Lawrence as they now dive in. 3 wide again. Coming through the apex of the corner through turns 4. Later turns 5. Contact between them. Wheel banging aplenty, and Klappenbach storms back through ahead of Nicolas Longuet, who concedes several positions and is now down in 6th place. Yildirim leads.
Dropping 3 positions off race start is exactly what wasn't in the race preparations. He would have been hoping to try and hold on to those podium positions at least until we got into the 3rd sector, but he just has had a catastrophic race start, to say the least. He's let Lawrence pass, he's let Burman pass. Those are 2 drivers that you do not want in front of you.
Certainly don't. Alfie Butcher now wheel to wheel this time with Josh Edo as they come around turn 13 this time around. So dangerous as you make your way onto the curb. You have to be so careful. That runoff can be very slippery as now we see them go side by side further down in towards the heavy braking zone at the end of the straight. In comes now Otis Lawrence and Barry Burraman. They're going to go side by side. The Iranian looking to try and cut up the Welshman as they come through the final sector here and now. But they're going to proceed through the final bend at turn 16. Burraman round now and loses the rear end. An evasive action for Nicholas Longay, who does a great job of keeping the car on the track. How on earth did Burraman hold that together? He's lost places, but more importantly, he remains in the race, and Longay concedes the position. He saw that Burraman, it wasn't necessarily his fault at all.
Fantastic evasive action from the Aston Martin there. Really saw what was happening ahead of him, took the correct action at the time and managed just to hop out of the way. I think there's a few drivers that may not have had the reaction to be able to avoid damage free from that.
Yeah, no, he was very fortunate. A late move down the inside as well from Istvan Pukki. He's going to look try and lift himself into P12. Has to pull off all the moves indeed. It's been a rapid rise here from Pukki. Remember, both Mercedes out in Q1. He's already into P12, TK.
Absolutely, an astronomical rise from himself, but let's keep an eye as well on Duncan Hoffland, up 4 positions in just as many, a lap and a half so far. He's really fighting for it today. He's now the lead Aston Martin after Longay falls.
It certainly is that. Duncan Hoffland currently P6, just behind fellow Dutch counterpart Jarno Otmir, with Barry Burraman now down in 7th place ahead of former Ferrari teammate Nicholas Longay, with Frederick Rasmussen still remaining in 9th spot as well, ahead of Josh Edo though, and Alfie Butcher sat in 11th place. The gap starting to string out up at the top, and just look at this, Ulas Yildirim trying to almost break the tie with Ismail Fassi, trying to break that DRS, because he knows that can mean everything, and with Ismail Fassi at the mercy of Julian Klaffenbach, I mean, this is a very aggressive start here for Yildirim, TK.
It is, and it's the way he wants to try and control this race. We've quite often seen drivers want to run it at their own pace and try and almost keep a pack with them, DRS swap as they make their way through. Yildirim's got a game plan in mind here, and he's going to execute it, regardless if Fassi wants to keep up or not.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, Klaffenbach, hard tyres, the only hard tyre runner inside the top 8 at the moment. Rasmussen also on hards as well, but he's down in 9th. And Josh Edo in 10th place on the medium tyre, but with Butcher for company also on the hard tyres. So expect Klaffenbach and Rasmussen to go deep on this stint, then pick up the medium tyres later on and be rapid to close out the race. Obviously, Kroes and Pedreño, Manley, Ronhar, Caraton, Blakely, Hardy, Hughes, all going long on the opening stint. No surprises. They have to do something different, TK, in order to unhook. Overcut, essentially, is the plan of action as far as they're concerned here today.
That's what it's looking like. The hard tyre runners know what the game plan is. Very much similar to what the medium runners will be on. And Julian Klaffenbach, who sits in 3rd, has got an almighty advantage here if he can hold on to these medium runners as we progress through the field, because he'll have that option to go long, but he's not being held up. If we look at the gap down to who's in 9th, Freddie Rasmussen in 9th, he's the next closest hard tyre runner.
And essentially this puts Julian Klaffenbach in a very good position, does it not? I mean, obviously now he could just focus on what's in front of him. He doesn't really have much to contend with. I mean, all he needs to do is stay within DRS on Yildirim and Fassi.
Absolutely, and with the 2 DRS zones that are around this circuit, it really does come to you, because the mediums aren't at such an advantage where they can run away out of that 1 second over what is essentially 2/3 of the circuit.
Precisely, as they now storm down through on lap 4 of 28. Still a long way to go though, anything can happen. Of course, we saw what happened at the very start of the race. Burraman very nearly losing the car altogether, whipping that rear end out, and was so fortunate. Of course, it was a very, shall we say, a very frantic start here in PSGL, but now it all seems to have settled down just a little bit, and the drivers, no question, are going to be just considering their strategies a little bit more. Barry could have lost a whole lot more than he did, and of course was later offered the kindness from Nicholas Longay to return into that P7 position. Of course, Longay profiteered after that big mistake, or that bit of contact that Barry Burraman sustained, and therefore dropped those places. He was in that P4 equation at the very start, and battling it out with Klaffenbach and Otis Lawrence, who have now also settled down. Klaffenbach currently remaining on top at the moment as they come down through towards the next heavy braking zone at the end of this semi-straight at turn 11, and Yildirim now taking them over the crest before they take the long straight down through towards turn 14, where the speed trap exists towards the back end of this very long straight. One of the longest straights you're going to see in Formula One racing. As now they coast downwards. Now DRS will be open for all the drivers inside of a second. Yildirim yet has not managed to break that DRS on Fassi. He has been trying, remains at the moment just over half a tenth, or half a second I should say, in front of Ismail Fassi.
At the moment, standing there rather pretty. Fassi again just knows his job at this stage of the race is to hold on to that DRS. No crazy moves, nothing that's going to get you caught up in either instance and or collisions, because of course you want to try and make it towards lap 28. We are seeing moves further back as Ronhard's climbed up 3, but Pookie as well, as we mentioned earlier, up 7 positions from where he once started. Mercedes seem to be flying in the race.
Yeah, at least one half of them anyway. Lucas Blakey's still locked down in 18th at the moment with plenty of work to do, but he was going to and fro with Alvaro Carreton at the start of the race, also trying to move his way up into 17th, but Carreton was having absolutely none of it. So of course they're both sharing the same compound of tyre, but if you're on those hard tyres, there's no benefit really if you're in that bottom section, that bottom conglomerate, TK, because at the end of the day, if you jump onto the medium tyres, and if for argument's sake you do manage to make the overcut work, it's not enough for you to simply stay where you are. If you are in amongst that hard tyre conglomerate, you've then got to fight for your position then at the very end of the race, and ideally maybe do it at the start of the stint.
Yeah, if you can try and figure that out, essentially having track position is absolutely beneficial, because we don't have the battles that we see in real life Formula 1. We don't have those closing gaps. We don't have the moments where we are trying to calculate if they'll catch on that final lap, because the racing is just so close here on the virtual racetrack.
It definitely is. As we watch Freddie Rasmussen storm down, he's now going to look to go wheel to wheel here with Nicolas Longuet as they look to stretch down through towards turn 14. Side by side they go again. Rasmussen tried to unlock the door on the Aston Martin not too long ago, trying to seek a P8 here and now as he looks to switch around the outside, coming in towards turn 16. No opening thus far for the Red Bull. Has to wait in the winds, and Longuet had it spotted right through the entirety of that run down that long straight. He knew Rasmussen was coming, but can he spot this one as they come through turn 1? Rasmussen once again filtering in behind the Aston Martin, but the hard tyres are only going to get better. The medium tyres will later get weaker.
It's a question now of longevity and how long can the medium runners hold on, because they'll be aware of who sat in amongst them. Obviously, Freddie Rasmussen is still kind of in that weird medium runner sandwich. He's got the Aston Martin of Longuet.
Big move up the inside from Freddie Rasmussen now, as we just briefly saw on board, and now coming through on Nicolas Longuet, moves up to 8th place and still retains the DRS gap on Barry Burman. The man in P7 now is going to be hunted down by the Great Dane. Remember, 4 wins on the spin in his first 5 races of this season, and here at round 6 they're going to continue his great run. Of course, the only time, like we've said prior, the only time he didn't finish as a race winner was that DNF at the very start of the season's campaign, and he's now upset the balance of Nicolas Longuet this time. Hard tyre on the rise, and now in P8, 7.5 tenths away from Barry Burman.
He can afford to push now. He has held the gap to Burman. The worst case scenario that would have happened there is he would be falling out of DRS range. He's not allowed that to happen though.
Yeah, and a move, well, look around the outside from Ismail Fassi as they look to battle for the lead, and the up and under now on offer here for Ismail Fassi, who after 6 laps has had to watch the RB's rear diffuser stretch through the initial phase of this race, and they're going to begin lap 7, wheel to wheel, on the run down towards turn 1, and it's Ismail Fassi who now takes the race lead away from the Turkish driver. It is now Fassi who leads on lap 7, as Yildirim reduced down to 2nd.
This is interesting now. Fassi deciding he's had enough of playing second fiddle in this race. Ulas demoted down to 2nd. Maybe he's going to be a little bit relieved by that, though. He'll be able to charge the battery just that little bit extra, have the DRS assistance as they make their way down the 2 DRS zones. They could actually play into Ulas's sort of wheelhouse here to sit just into P2 for a few laps.
Yeah, could mean a race win in the pocket of Fassi if he can carry on this run. We said that Ferrari have been showing signs of serious promise, still very much in the pipeline for a potential strong finish in the team standing. Of course, Red Bull still convincingly ahead as it stands, but as we all know, Ferrari love to be in the fighting, or certainly in the fights, love to be in the firing line, certainly for a P1 finish, and they could be on the cusp of one this time at Shanghai International Circuit. Of course, this Grand Prix circuit that has existed since 2004, 5.45 kilometers, 3.3 miles in length, 16 turns. Of course, broke ground here at this circuit in April of 2003, over 22 years ago, and we opened 21 years ago. As now they stretch down and open up the DRS here this time around on the run down towards turn 14 into the braking zone. This time, Fassi won't be contested. Ulas Isildurin will remain in second. Of course, Ulas doesn't see value probably in fighting this early on, TK. Better to save the car, save the battery, and now the medium tyres coming into the pits straight away.
That's very early, not as early as I was expecting for a few drivers. A real mix in the session here, as some of the medium runners stay out, some have dived in. I don't think anybody's quite sure which way they want to stick it.
Well, tyres now being onboarded, and it's hard tyres now for Ismail Fassi. No surprises. Just how good is this getaway going to be? He will remain ahead of Ulas Isildurin, who has been released right in behind Ismail Fassi. So the status quo remains as of when they came into the pits. No change in terms of race leader, but a lovely escape there from Ismail Fassi. The gap has grown to 0.8 of a second, as it was so briefly between Isildurin and Fassi when Ulas was leading at the start of the race. So Fassi's going to look to try and break that DRS and make this early stop work for him.
Interestingly enough, that pack of four weren't the first drivers to head into the pit lane. Longe and Edu went in the lap before them. Only did 6 laps on a set of the medium tyres. They've come out on harder tyres as well, just right on the back of that four. But the four have made the overcut kind of work here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, TK. I mean, that is a very early stop, is it not? I mean, we think that obviously those that stopped on the just this current lap, the one that we've just seen, we thought that was early, but going a lap previous to that, goodness me, I mean, that is a very bold move from Longe and Josh Edu. Hopefully the tyres will last for them, but obviously, as far as they're concerned, they need to break the cycle that exists at the very top. As now Julian Klaffenbach looks to continue around on this next lap. Jarno Opmeer now second in this contingent. Surely, will he respond? No. Opmeer going a little bit longer. Now, we've seen this before from the Dutchman. He's deciding to continue on his strategy. He's not blinking at all. He's not going to respond to all those that left on the mediums onto the hards. He's going to take this as long as he can and just look to benefit off the tow that is being supplied by Julian Klaffenbach.
Well, he has the tow from Klaffenbach. He has the blocker, essentially, in the name of Freddie Rasmussen, that sits just behind him on the harder tyre. So he's kind of in a free and clear moment as it stands. But I'm keeping an eye on the chat because we've got our resident Bernie Collins here in terms of PSGL, Mr. Dylan Warren in the chat. He's saying it's a good time. The two-stop is technically possible from here. The two-stop is still slower, so I'm not sure if any teams are maybe taking a gamble or if it is just going to be an incredible undercut that we're seeing.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we've seen the undercut work several times in the past before. It is a bold move, but it can often work from time to time. It just depends on how good you are in managing those tyres, at the same time maintaining your pace. Ulas Isildurin still remaining on the heels of Ismail Fassi. Fassi currently 12.4 away from Wilson Hughes. They're still going to have to put the work in on those hards in order to make this massive undercut work. Jarno Opmeer currently sat in second. He'll be obviously part of the next group that come into the pits. There's only 3 drivers now on medium tyres coming from this early stint so far, the first stint in this race. So we'll see when they decide to box. Rasmussen, of course, alternate strategy to Jarno Opmeer, starting on the hard compounded tyre, with Barry Burman just in behind as well, as now Joris Krozen looks to breeze past Isvan Pukki. Just a slight lock up there on the return, as now the up and under could be on here for Pukki this time. Doesn't go for it, and instead it will be Krozen into P6.
Yeah, Pukki as well, let's not forget, started down in P19. He didn't set a lap in Q1, and he was only P19 because of the qualifying ban that was handed to Thomas Ronmar. Otherwise, he'd have been even one place further down. He's made the tyres work in the opening stint. My question is, he's made up 13 positions. How much life has he got left in them?
Well, that is the big question, because, of course, he would have put them to work in order to make those places happen. I mean, he had no choice. Ultimately, he had to gamble. It is a gamble when you try and pull something like that off. And remember, generally, if you are in the bottom end, you'd probably more than likely go for that hard tyre to start. He's gone essentially against the grain here and opted for that medium tyre. But I suppose in essence, it's probably the right thing to do, because he needed a tyre advantage against those on the hard tyres at the very start. Otherwise, he would have just been another hard tyre runner, I'd imagine, TK.
And I think that's exactly what was going through his head when he was maybe discussing his strategy with the team. He wanted something that was going to put him maybe slightly on edge compared to everybody else. He had to take a little bit of a risky strategy. You typically do when you're starting down the bottom ends of that timing tower. We saw it from Ronhar. He started down in 20th, obviously on the hard tyre, but he's made the moves work. And now he's set himself up in a position where potentially, with the softer tyres coming in his second stint, that he might be able to try and put in some magic when that car is a little bit lighter than it was at the start.
Well, in comes now Ruben Pedreño, and Pookie now falling yet to another couple of places as now Manley and Pedreño go side by side, both sharing the hard tyre compound as well as they escape out of the hairpin bend. Pedreño will withstand the pressure from Tom Manley as both of those drivers on the hard tyres now surpass. As now Pookie looks like he's coming into the pits, so the next runner to box off those mediums is the Mercedes driver, and a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Throwbacks to earlier on this season where driver after driver was suffering the heartache of time penalties. Remember Zandvoort, TK? We've just seen it again.
I don't think I could forget Zandvoort after the drama that we saw unfolds there, and I really hope we're not going to see a repeat of it here this afternoon. China is not a difficult pit lane to get right.
No, it really is not. Plenty of sight on that pit marker board, and Pookie now 5.6 behind Josh Ido, and with a 10-second time penalty for Istvan Pookie. That's going to go right up against him now at the end of the race, and we'll surely see him dropped further and further down. We know how close these gaps are in this PSGL PCF1 Championship. It has been the same right through since we began back in season 27. If anything, it only gets tighter as now we watch them come through the S section before then climbing downhill. They reach the precipice, the highest point on the circuit, and then descend downwards through this long straight out of turn 13 in towards turn 14. And it's Klaffenbach now, who's actually grown the gap to 1.3 over the last lap. Klaffenbach was quicker, TK, but only by half a tenth.
Yeah, the barest of margins between the two of them, so I'm not quite sure what's happened. Is it this lap, or is it just Jarno is seeming a little bit slower through the corners, but he's making the time up in the straights? I wouldn't be surprised if we see him into the pits, and in he comes. Yeah,
no question. Already now into the box. Jarno Opmeer deciding to pit off his compound of tyre, so he'll join the rest of the grid onto the hards, barring, of course, Barry Burman, who will continue on yet another lap, looking to ultimately try something similar to Jarno Opmeer as to what he's certainly done in recent races. Hard tyres now on offer for the Flying Dutchman, who now will wait to see Ismail Fassi move past, and once again, of course, net leader, we believe, based on the fact that he is currently the highest driver on this rostrum, this classification, this 20-car grid that have committed to their pit stops already. He now sits in P13, does Ismail Fassi, with Jonas Zodrin for company, as well as Otis Lawrence, Duncan Hopland further back, Longay, Ido, Opmeer now down in 19th, but 2.1 off the back of Josh Ido, and still remains in front of Pookie, so Opmeer still very much in the mix.
Absolutely in the mix, and that's where he'll want to be. Try and hold on to the DRS for a few laps, wait for the rest of the field to really start to make their overtakes, maybe try and force some of the hard runners to go onto the mediums early, because then that's when we'll see them burn them up towards the end of the Grand Prix and really start to be under pressure from the hard tyres that can go the distance.
Well, now Barry Burman surely will respond to Jarno Opmeer's move to come into the box. Remember, he's the only driver that still remains on medium tyres. He's not going to fight Joris Krozen, who will move past him into P4. There's just little to no point. May as well just carry on, just remain in the aero, carry on, just run your race, and then see what the second stint offers you when you come out on a fresh set of tyres. Here comes Barry Burman into the box now. So the final of the initial medium tyre stint, the final driver to come into the pits is Barry Burman, hard on the brakes to avoid the 10-second time penalty that went the way of Istvan Pookie. And we'll see where this certainly affects his, I suppose, gap to Jarno Opmeer here. Very decent stop, smart stop from Barry Burman, and sees as well his teammate Ismail Fassi dust past him straight away. Here comes Jarno Opmeer now, and already, just by boxing a lap prior, TK, well ahead of Barry Burman right now.
That's an incredible difference that we're seeing here, as we've seen him drop all the way to the back
Pookie's
of the
got
pack. Yeah, Pookie's got, everyone's got him. And that one lap extension really hurt him on the mediums.
So there you go, just goes to show you do have to eventually box. Of course, trying to do something different, Barry Burman now needs to really strive and push on this fresh compound of hard tyre. He does have the life of the tyre in his favour. Of course, Opmeer, just by boxing one lap prior than he did, has actually got a gap of 4 seconds, 4.5 if you want to be precise. And now Opmeer inside DRS on Josh Ido at the moment, and has 5 lap fresher tyres than the Alpine and the Aston Martin in front of him right now. And the work now begins here from lap 13 onwards. It's going to be a really tough battle between the entirety of this 20-car grid. Of course, unfortunately for Pookie, he's going to be a little bit outside of the spectrum with 10 seconds to be applied at the end of this race as they now storm down the long straight through towards turn 14. It's still Klaffenbach out in front, 12 laps accrued on his tyres, but surely those on the hards that started on the hards are going to go a little bit longer. Here comes now Jana Watmere on the move, looking to try and surpass the Welshman, Josh Edo. They're side by side, a slight lock up, the rear slips a little bit on Jana Watmere's car. The Red Bull still persevering though, and they're going to remain side by side coming through turn 16, and Watmere now up into 17th place ahead of Edo this time.
Yep, good moves for Jana Watmere there. Got past the driver that he needed to try and work his way back through the field, because he's going to feel like he's a little bit out of position at the moment, where he stands down at P17. He'll be wanting to be closer towards Fashy, the front of this pack, because he is a driver that likes to try and control the pace, control the group, and that's where he'll try and work his way forwards.
I certainly have no doubt that that is exactly what he's going to try and do. He is now in P17, Jana Watmere in true tested standard that we have come to expect from Jana Watmere in prior races. Obviously now looking to try and persevere and overtake Nicholas Longay. 4.5 tenths the difference. Longay still remaining behind his teammate Duncan Hofland. Of course, both sharing the Aston Martin this season for season 40. As they come through the first sector and later sector 2. Barry Burroman, just to point out, fastest in the first sector as well. So he's coming in like a trained TK, but he still needs to overtake Istvan Pookie.
Yeah, Pookie's a bit of a weird sort of sitting duck at the moment. He's too far off the back of the pack to benefit from DRS, but he is slower than Burman's going. But he's on purple 1, purple 2 at the moment, and that is showing the Ferrari's got some pace here.
Yeah, big moves here as well from Ruben Pedreño. Tom Manley side by side as well with Joris Krozen, and the battles are getting quite taut here between these three, but Pedreño up into 4th and Manley managing to hold on to 5th for now, but Krozen asking major questions of the man currently sat in P5 as well. Of course, remember, all those drivers inside the top 11 have yet to box off their hard compound of tyres just yet, and we're on lap 15. We're over the halfway point in the race this time by one solitary lap, and now we will await to see those on the hards come into the pits, which I would imagine will be within the next 5 laps.
That would be my assumption. Probably the late teens, if not the early 20s, is probably when we're expecting those drivers in. Interestingly enough, we're exactly halfway through the race, and the entire field is on the hard tyre. There's a fun fact for you.
Yeah, there you go, folks. It's all a blanket of white in terms of the bands on the side of the tyre at the moment. Ishmael Fassi 8.4 seconds away from Wilson Hughes at the tail of this initial train. Barry Burroman has overtaken Istvan Pookie as well. He's up in the 19th now, but now has to find 2 seconds to close up to the back of Josh Edo. Jana Watmere also in front of Nicholas Longay and is trying to burst past the train of cars in front. Duncan Hofland, of course, next on his list. He split the 2 Aston Martins, at least for now, and looking to try and close on the back of Hofland this time as they now storm down through towards the heavy braking zone again. Watmere hot on the heels of Hofland as the 2 Dutchmen now come together once more. Of course, Hofland, who has been part of Aston Martin for such a long time, started out as a development driver for the team and eventually made his dreams come true, becoming their official F1 sim racing driver in their roster. Of course, alongside the likes of Otis Lawrence over last season. Of course, now Otis parting ways and moving to Alpine as now in comes Jana Watmere up the inside, coming in towards turn 14 again. The Red Bull looking to now fan its flames as they fly now in towards the final corner, in towards turn 16. Watmere now once again lifting himself up into P15 this time. The 2 Astons are gone. Next up will be Otis Lawrence and a storm of cars coming into the pits.
Yep, 5 drivers in total, all of them opting for the medium tyres. It's a very early stop again for those drivers on the hard tyres, looking to do probably around 13 laps on a set of the medium tyres. I'm sure there's probably reason for it, and I wouldn't be surprised if again it's a very reactionary move, because Klaffenbach's got in very early here.
He has got in very early, and I wonder whether he's trying to do something similar to what the likes of Longay did, who boxed really early onto the fresh hard tyre. Maybe Klaffenbach is trying to do something similar, only the other way around, in order to get the jump on cars. Basically, they're in the same strategy sense as he is, but obviously Klaffenbach now 1.5 away as Jana Watmere heads up on the move again, this time coming toe-to-toe with Otis Lawrence, who also has a little bit of a point to prove based on what we saw last time at Japan. Jana Watmere, though, is going to push this youngster to his limit, and Watmere through into P9, and now well and truly inside the top 10.
Yeah, our resident Bernie Collins comes in. I think Julian pit too soon, but I think what he's potentially trying to do here as he knows if he goes out too long on the set of the hard tyres, that pack that is chasing, that he now sits on the back of, would have time to catch. He'd be stuck in no man's land, essentially. But with the strategy that he's just played here, he's in DRS range already.
Yeah, just flirting with that second gap now as Barry Burman also looks to make the moves. Now moves up into P13. 10-second time penalty for Frederick Rasmussen. Oh my goodness! Rasmussen has unfortunately sped into the pit lane. That is a disaster for our championship leader as he now looks to rejoin the circuit. Remains ahead at the moment of Alvaro Carreton, but that will surely put a stopper on this perfect race run that he has been on since round 2 this season. As he rejoins, he's going to meet Pedreño around the outside and the sister team to the Red Bull franchise, Tom Manley's RB, as they come through turn 1, down through turn 2. Rasmussen looking to hold on to the position and does so in P13.
Wow, this shakes things up in amongst this grid at the moment, doesn't it? Klaffenbach gets past Edu as well, further up the field. That strategy, he's now on the softer tyre, has DRS. If he can get distance between himself and the other now medium runners, this could be a blinding play from the Kick Sauber.
It could well be. Klaffenbach obviously chasing his first win in PSGL PCF1, and it could yet happen. And not to mention, what an advert this will be for Kick Sauber in order to effectively put him in the position of a potential future mainstay seat alongside Thomas Ronhaar, who is still going around on his 16-lap old hard tyres trying to pull off the almighty overcut of overcuts. Currently sits 8.6 seconds clear of Ismail Fassi. There is our current race leader on track. Of course, not a net race leader by any means, but is going to look to now come into the pits. I'm sure it'll be on this lap now as Klaffenbach now looks to move past Istvan Pukki on the run down through towards turn 14. Also looking to make moves is Barry Burman on Nicholas Longuet, the two former teammates. Certainly aren't going to fight each other too hard. Longuet superseding the position to Barry Burman as now they continue on to the next lap. It's lap 18 of 28. Still Ronhaar is yet to pit.
I was about to say, he's gone from last to first at the moment. He'd be hoping, of course they can't happen, but probably hoping and praying that Safety Car would have come out in a real life situation for him to try and go for a late pit stop here, because he has gone through every single driver. He now stands atop by 9.5 seconds, but of course he will lose a considerable amount of time after he does make his required trip into the pit lane.
Yeah, he certainly will do. Of course, Jarno Otmir now on the back of Ulas Zildrim, your pole sitter at the very start of this race. Of course, Ulas still on the back of Ismail Fassi. That has been certainly an illustration that has not changed, of course, since that official pit, that first pit stop. Rasmussen now losing out to Josh Edo now. They're looking to fight tooth and nail. Two former teammates, remember, back from the 2023 F1 Sim Racing World Championship season. Of course, Edo now, since departing Red Bull, moving to Alpine. Rasmussen making short work of it. But remember, with that 10-second time penalty, he's going to lose just as many places as Istvan Pukki.
Yes, an interesting strategy all around the field as it stands. Pukki is kind of, again, stuck kind of in amongst the grid with that penalty. Does he maybe try and help his teammate Blake? He's kind of out the picture. He's stuck further down. Could he maybe just try and prove a hindrance to Freddie Rasmussen? But it looks like he's trying to go for it, albeit with that 10 seconds to his name.
It certainly is at the moment. Obviously, while Ronhaar is still out on track, he is in P4, Jarno Otmir, but they're very nearly going side by side. Fassi and Zildrim, a little tap in the back of Ulas Zildrim. Contact elsewhere for the back. The domino effect on offer. Oh my goodness. My goodness, I just lost my game briefly. We are back, folks. I do apologise. I just had a brief scare. I pressed F5 on my screen. I do apologise. Julian Klaffenbach, now P5. Jarno Otmir, currently sat in P3 at the moment on the back of Ulas Zildrim. Not many changes at all. Fassi remains in front. The only difference now, Ronhaar in the pits. Jarno Otmir now in P3 on the podium and on the precipice of achieving potentially podium number 50.
Well, here we go then. Everybody is headed into the pits already. We've still got an incredible 9.5 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. The tyres are going to be shredded by the time we get to the end of this race because everyone has pitted so early, they've got to try and hold on.
Well, heading through now at this point in time, lap 19 of 28, halfway point of the race has already been surpassed. We're now into the final frontier. It all comes down to this. Jarno Otmir on much fresher tyres than anybody else in the podium places. He has got 3 drivers around him, all on 11-lap old hard tyres. The only danger man could be Klaffenbach. Well, the 2 danger men, Klaffenbach and Burman. Klaffenbach on faster tyres though, mediums, but can they last till the end of the race. Either way, Klaffenbach now on the tail of Otis Lawrence as they now burst down through towards the heavy braking zone at the end of the straight. Here they come this time. Ulas Yildirim and Fassi now coming together as now Fassi looks to get the up and under as they head into turn 14. The Turkish star, Ulas Yildirim, now in the lead and has stayed ahead of Ismail Fassi, who tried the up and under. It did not work, and Klaffenbach managing to keep Otis Lawrence at bay and is now on the tail of Jarno Opmeer. Barry Burmand unable to surpass Lawrence and remains in 6th. It's wheel to wheel at the front though again. Here comes Fassi around the outside. Lead taken back here by Fassi, but challenged straight away. This time by Ulas Yildirim. He is not giving up by any means, and it's Yildirim back into the lead of the race.
The man from Turkey is absolutely playing chicken here this afternoon. He does not want to give this lead up, whether by hook or by crook. Fassi is trying to do everything he possibly can, but Ulas has an answer to everyone.
And contact between Barry Burmand and Jarno Opmeer now, and Jarno now has lost all kinds of traction on the back of Julian Klaffenbach and Otis Lawrence, right in between them here, making it a 3-car scrap. The heat has been turned up to 100 degrees right now, folks. Make that maybe 1,000. Whack another nought on that. I don't mind. Julian Klaffenbach in 3rd place has managed to move himself up the order covertly on that medium tyre, but for how much longer can he keep this going with Opmeer still hot on his heels?
He's done 4 laps on it at the moment compared to Opmeer's 8 on a set of the hard tyres. The mediums will still be the better tyre, but the question is still longevity. He's got to make them work whilst he can, and I think Fassi can be under pressure here from an unsuspecting Klaffenbach behind.
He certainly can. They're wheel to wheel coming down in towards turn 14 once more. Here comes Klaffenbach. He's going to try and storm past Ismail Fassi and break the trend of the top 2, and he certainly will. Klaffenbach is climbing through this classification right now, sits in 2nd place and is hot on the heels now of Ulas Yildirim and has got that DRS as well. This could prove to be so integral, so important. Klaffenbach on the cusp of potentially being a PSGL race winner for the first time in PCF1 as Thomas Ronard takes the fastest lap. Otis Lawrence and Rasmussen going wheel to wheel through the first sector.
Klaffenbach's got to make these tyres work whilst he can and then essentially run off into the distance out of DRS range and hope the likes of Yildirim and Fassi Opmeer all battle amongst themselves. It's a bit of a gamble strategy, but it seems to be working at the moment. We can't seem to get past Ulas at the moment.
No, I mean, look at Rasmussen as well, TK. Had he not had the penalty, had he not sped in the pit lane, what could have been? As now here comes Jarno Opmeer around the outside and they're pushing so close together, really extending out on the circuit, and through goes Rasmussen, taking advantage of Opmeer's moment onto the grass. It just seemed to me that Ismail Fassi, by any means necessary, was looking to defend that P3.
Rasmussen now has an opportunity to play the team game, essentially acts as blocker. He's got the penalty. He knows he's going to be falling down the order. If he can help out Jarno Opmeer now, he might as well try and do so. And his game is going to be go and catch Julian Klaffenbach.
Yeah, Duncan Offland and Ruben Pedroni also going wheel to wheel. I tell you what, the temperature has definitely turned up to 1,000 degrees right now. It is getting really warm out there on circuit now as Frederick Rasmussen looks to move into 3rd, and this time has done, has surpassed Ismail Fassi and has moved into P3. Jarno Opmeer hot on the heels. Of course, Rasmussen still has a part to play in all of this. Ruben Pedreno moving up into 8th place as well, ahead of Duncan Offland. Tom Manley as well down in 10th as they begin lap 22 of 28. Ulas Yildirim remains in front. Ismail Fassi, his prior rival, has now sunk down to 4th, and now Klaffenbach and Rasmussen mainly has become the danger, but I think Rasmussen is going to play a vital role, TK, in helping his teammate Jarno Opmeer.
Absolutely. It's now all or nothing in terms of the team game for Rasmussen. The 10-second penalty was essentially the wet signature on his death warrant. He doesn't have an option to try and fight for himself unless we see the pile-up of all pile-ups, but don't count it out yet, folks. Jarno Opmeer is in a critical position with essentially the more tyres left in him. He has an opportunity to try and pull back through this field, but he's going to need some help from his team.
Yeah, Tom Manley also going side by side here as well with Duncan Offland. Offland back up the inside as well as they continue to dice it out here on lap 22 of 28, but it's going to be Tom Manley with the upper hand. Lovely effort to keep Hofland at bay, and will move into 9th place behind Ruben Pedreño as it stands. A little look here as well from Alfie Butcher, who's looking to move into the mainstay points. Remember, every single position inside the top 10 paying out points here, and it's side by side now between Alfie Butcher and Duncan Hofland as they look to challenge each other, one another, over the finer points paying positions. Of course, remember, Butcher on those 5-lap old medium tyres also still has a part to play. Pedreño and Manley also observing a similar strategy to Klaffenbach as well at the top, as now we see the drivers come together. Constantine are up, here comes Fassi and Otmir once again, and Fassi has overtaken the Flying Dutchman here on lap 22.
I think it was a little bit of an audacious move in towards turn 14. Fassi felt the move was on, felt the move was fair, managed to get the better of Jarno Otmir, who's had to hold place in 5th position, but I don't think he'll be there for long. He has got that fire inside him.
Yeah, look at Rasmussen again, trying to look up the inside this time on Julian Klaffenbach as they come out of turn 2 and through towards turn 3. They're now starting to leave Fassi behind a little bit. The gap was 0.7 of a second. It's coming back in though a little bit. Fassi now back in 4th after overtaking Jarno Otmir where he did, as they now storm down through to the next heavy braking zone. A slight lock up there from Klaffenbach. I think he was spooked a little bit there, TK, by Rasmussen behind.
Understandable. I think everyone would be in that situation. You've got a prancing Red Bull trying to chase you down, essentially on the fresher tyres as well. There's 1 lap difference between Klaffenbach and Rasmussen's tyres, 6 versus 7 respectively. And I think Rasmussen has got that fire. He knows the penalty's still looming over his head, but he's going to try and get the move done, whether that means staying there or not.
Yeah, well, let's find out. Obviously now Frederick Rasmussen remains in 3rd. Remember, he does have that 10-second time penalty. If it stays like this, he'll be outside of the points, well outside of the points, if this carries on. As we now watch and see them flying out of the in-swinger at turn 13 and then down the long straight. 3-second time penalty to Tycho Hardy for corner cutting. So yet another penalty dished out. Of course, not the variety of the pit lane necessarily, as now Klaffenbach looks to try and challenge Ulas Zildarim for the race lead here. We're going to restore his name back to the front in the Kick Sauber, as now they come out of the heavy braking zone at turn 14, and with the favourable line, in comes Julian Klaffenbach back into the race lead now on lap 23 of 28.
Here we go then, the opportunity for Klaffenbach to try and prove his worth. He's got Ulas Zildarim still trying to chase him down. The DRS proving beneficial to the VCOM round the outside, and that is simply stunning.
That is stellar from Ulas Zildarim, still not giving up by any means. Pole position coming into this one. His first pole in PSGL PCF1, and he wants to take a sensational victory here as well to go along with it. To become the first driver here at China in PSGL PCF1 to take pole and go from pole to victory. Late though from Julian Klaffenbach. He went far too late, locked up the brakes, and Frederick Rasmussen gladly obliged and moves up into 2nd place.
Fantastic move from himself, held on to position, went for it, and had absolutely no remorse. If he wanted to try and secure that, he does so, but now he's falling off the back of Ulas. You've got to keep an eye on that gap.
And remember, of course, we keep talking about it, but the time penalty, that is a truly evident situation for the Red Bull team, and the problem that does serve up is that he is now a stopper, essentially, for the other cars behind. Now, Frederick Rasmussen flirting very nearly outside of that DRS gap. He might be handing the win here to Ulas on a plate.
I think he could be. The question will be, can Freddie Rasmussen either defend Julian Klaffenbach, or what's he going to do in this situation, because he can have the opportunity to go for the race lead, but the 3-way battle is still on, and we see between Otmir and Fassi further back, side by side, it's the hairpin. That never ends well. Still side by side though to run to the final corner. Fassi holds on.
How on earth is he defending the Flying Dutchman on 4 lap older tyres at the moment? 16 laps of hards now becomes 17, with 13 laps on Jarno Otmir's car as they look to fly it through towards turn 1 yet again. Ulas still trying to hold on now. It's wheel to wheel between Rasmussen and Klaffenbach further back. Longate's retired from the race. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. That's been done in the pits though. Rasmussen still in 2nd. Klaffenbach trying to crawl all over the back of the Dane, and now Rasmussen very much in the lead hunt here as they fly down towards turn 4.
A super chat over on YouTube. It's Tom coming in saying Jarno Otmir is going to win. What an interesting call, and we have got a potential for him to try and run through the field, but he still stands in 5th place. Incredible talent still in front of him, but if it's one thing I've learned over the course of this season and seasons gone by, is never count out Otmir.
Well, I would certainly never count out Jarno Otmir, of course, a multi-time champion. He has won this series many, many times, of course, in his period of being a PSGL driver. 7 titles in total, 6 of them in PSGL PCF1 competition, the other one coming from PlayStation. as he looks to rampantly rise through the order, is on the heels of Ismail Fassi still, as now Thomas Ronha enters the fold. There's big points here to be earned for Kick Sauber here, TK. 2 cars inside the top 10 now as they charge down to the heavy braking zone at turn 14.
Yeah, Ronhar's strategy is working and working well. Let's not forget, he's only on 6-lap-old medium tyres. He's still got life left in them and will do at the end. He gets a pass on Ruben Pedrenio up for P8. I don't think that's going to be the last move we see from him today.
The Rocket, Thomas Ronha. He hasn't been called that at all at the start of this season. It's been a tough start to the campaign for him. But now under pressure, Ulas Azildrim is now. Freddie Rasmussen launches around the outside. And the race lead now in the Great Dane's pocket. Whilst he may lead the race right now, when he takes the checkered flag, he'll fall through the order. But this is a sight that has been certainly all too common to see. Rasmussen leads here on track, here at Shanghai.
Penalties, penalties, penalties. That has been the name of the season so far, and it's been so typical that races get decided both in the stewards room and on the track by penalties handed out by the FIA.
And Thomas Ronha up into P7 as well. He's past Barry Burraman. He's on fresher medium tyres than anybody, and he's on the tail of Otis Lawrence. We could be in for a final 2-lap crescendo here. 3 laps if you include this one between these drivers that are now giving everything in this phenomenal race that we have witnessed here. Round 6 here at PSGL Season 40 here in PCF1, and Ronha now looking to bring a last minute loud action here at the end of the session, here at the end of the race. 3 laps, 2.5 laps, 2 or so to go anyway. Thomas Ronha P7, Otis Lawrence next on his list as they charge down to turn 14.
The question is, when do you start charging that battery to give you enough for that final run? Because we know that last DRS straight is so crucial here in China.
Yeah, he's locking those wheels to the right as well. We hear contact further back, and it looks like Hoffland and Caraton are going at it, but Thomas Ronha is now into P6 and on the tail, and look at this. The two of them are back together, Otmir and Ronha. Side by side, very soon I'm sure, nose to tail for now. Otmir, of course, and Ronha have had many Titanic duels in the past in PSGL PCF1. They've combated together against one another. There was controversy, we've had heartbreak. We have had, though, high-stakes drama that has lifted these two individuals as future stars and current stars of sim racing, certainly in F1 League racing and sim racing in terms of world championships as well. Ronha has had his own close moments where he's nearly won titles. Jarno, though, a multi-time race winner, the most successful champion in F1 sim racing history and in league racing history to boot as well. Coming through the middle sector, penultimate lap underway. Lap 27 of 28. It's still Frederick Rasmussen with the lead right now, and Ulas Azildrim will take a first win if it stays like this.
They've got to try and balance out how everything is going to find itself on that final lap. This DRS straight becoming what will be the third final run that we have of DRS on this circuit. They've got to try and sort out any quarrels here before we head on to lap 28 of 28, because that is when we start to see podiums and winners decided.
Certainly is. Penultimate lap about to come to an end. We have got one final lap that is certainly going to make quite the difference as we now venture onwards now. We could see this entire rostrum turned upside down in a split moment. This is where tempers could boil over as they now begin the final lap of the race here on lap 28 of 28. Turn 1 to come, and it's Frederick Rasmussen who leads the way, but with a time penalty against his name. Ulas Azildrim in second. We then have Julian Klappenbach third, Ismail Fassi in fourth, Jarno Otmir still hovering all over his tail. Thomas Ronha has now broken DRS and Otis Lawrence, and that leaves now the top 6 to fight it out of the on-track lead of the race.
Absolutely. Let's not forget as well, Thomas Ronha has that 10-second penalty carried over from Japan last week that will affect his race time today.
Yeah, it will. So obviously Ronha will not win this time around. If anything, all he needs to do is try and grow the gap from the cars behind. So yes, that does take Ronha out. Basically, he's in the same predicament as Frederick Rasmussen. Obviously, at the moment, though, Ronha with so many places to gain, if he even wants to taste P1 right now, it's certainly going to go against him come the end when the checkered flag comes out. Ulas Azildrim, though, is on the course, on the precipice of becoming a race winner for the first time in PSGL PCF1, but Julian Klappenbach also demanding a chance to do the same as they now come out of turn 13 this time. Nose to tail as they now storm down this long straight now. The longest straight you're going to see on this Formula One calendar, certainly here in PSGL. Ismail Fassi with his teammate Barry Burman trying to find a way past Otis Lawrence. It's all going to come down to turn 14. Julian Klappenbach is not going to risk it. Neither is Ulas Azildarim. He knows the deal is done. He knows the routine has been completed. Pole at the start of the day. He's going to bring it home to victory. Rasmussen goes off the track, but it's now Ulas Azildarim, a race winner in PSGL PCF1 for the first time in his long career. The young man has done it. Finally a winner at the highest echelons of league racing here today. And Julian Klappenbach in second place as well. A magnificent performance from the top two. Ismail Fassi home in third as well. What a phenomenal performance. It's Ulas Azildarim, your winner for the first time in PSGL PCF1.
What a drive from Ulas. Absolutely outstanding. Commanded that almost from start to finish. He knew what he had to do when the penalty became applied to Freddie Rasmussen, and that was a very, very mature drive.
Well, just days apart from where we witnessed Isaac Hadjar in RB uniform go on to take his first podium in Formula One. A former PSGL driver he himself was as well, from the echelons of PlayStation years ago. He is now a podium sitter in F1, and Ulas Azildarim in the colours of RB, a winner for the first time in PSGL PCF1 here at Shanghai in China as they spray the virtual champagne. It's Turkish power here today, and Ulas Azildarim will now no doubt move his way up the driver's standing. What a phenomenal performance here from him as we take a look at our results at the end of play. Ulas Azildarim is your winner here at Shanghai, with Julian Klappenbach in second. Great result for him. Ismail Fassi in third. Jarno Opmeer in fourth. The run of the Red Bull podiums comes to an end, and indeed the race wins for Freddie Rasmussen. Also further back, Thomas Ronhaar, a meteoric performance to move up to fifth, but remember, he has a post-race 10-second time penalty to be applied. Barry Burman records himself sixth across the line, with Otis Lawrence down in seventh. We then have Tom Manley, Ruben Pedreño, Alfie Butcher, Duncan Hoffland, Alvaro Caraton, Joris Krozen, Wilson Hughes, Lucas Blakely, Frederick Rasmussen, of course, finishing further down after the penalty. Tycho Hardy 17th as well. Istvan Pukki after his penalty dropping down to 18th, and Josh Edo, of course, recording himself 19th ahead of the man who retired, Nicolas Longuet, of course, a prior pole sitter at this very, very track. But what a show, everybody. What a performance. Ulas Azildarim, a race winner here in PSGL PCF1 for the first time. What an occasion to do it in as well. And what a timely fashion to do it in when they are in the hunt for a greater championship position. I must say, it was an astounding performance, TK. Lights to flag, he has done it.
Absolutely. And he should be very, very proud to take home that trophy, because it was a very, well, let's just say mature drive. It was a very outstanding drive from him. You want to put any adjective in front of that word, because it was that here today.
Oh, it was. It was absolutely stellar. Obviously, performances have been sensational on his part. Thomas Ronhaar, 10-second time penalty to be applied. 15 places gained, though, Tom Knight, to move up to where he did at the end of the flag. I mean, I appreciate, obviously, he's going to get a penalty, but can we just appreciate the drive anyway for him to be put in a position like that? Of course, now he's got to take the positives from that, has he not?
Yeah, and we've spoken to him kind of at the start of the season where he wasn't too confident coming in and wanted to put that practice in, and it's showing. It is really showing. Obviously, he's had it kind of let down today with that penalty that's kind of overruled the situation that he's found himself in, but in the grand scheme of things, that is such a positive step forward for Ronhaar and for Sauber as well, let's not forget.
Yeah, I mean, if we consider where they have been, I mean, really for Sauber, it's been a great race for them. If anything, they can take so much more out of this race. Probably they could take more out of this race than any other race they've been in, I think, through the course of this campaign. I mean, Julian Klappenbach's performance, P2, could have on any other day been a race winner here today.
Oh, almost certainly. And I think there was probably people sat at home cheering and screaming as they saw Julian Klappenbach really starting to put that pressure on Ulas, because I thought, at least from where I was sat in the commentary box, that it was almost only a matter of time until Julian went for the move. But I think it was very sensible, played the game. He wanted to try and get that podium, but I guarantee it's not the last time we see him there, if not further higher up.
Yeah, I've got Ismail Fassi asking about interviews. I'm going to say interviews are on. So it looks like you know, I'm just going to type in this message now. Honestly, I wear many hats in PSGL. That's for sure. We have invited Ismail Fassi through, by the way, folks. So there we go. We will, of course, keep you updated as we get drivers coming into the Discord, and they'll come in and have a little chat with us. We do love hearing from them. But a phenomenal performance, I have to say, from ULAS. Elsewhere on the grid as well. I mean, VCarb as a whole, great day for them. ULAS doing great. Tom Manley, one of his better performances this season as well, TK, if we consider where he started in this race as well. 14th on the grid, eventually found himself up into P8 as well. And he should get bolstered up into P7, given Ron Ha's penalty as well.
Yeah, quite a few drivers will move around. I think Ron Hub will fall all the way down to P17 if my maths kind of works out. Probably even a little bit further, probably closer towards kind of 18th place after all those penalties really get applied. So it's one that I think you will have to try and hold on to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Well, I'm pleased to say that we've now invited Ismail Fassi into the commentary box. Ismail, we heard a little whisper of giggling there. Good to hear from you, obviously. Now, of course, this is probably the first time we properly spoke to you, really, since your move to Ferrari. I mean, what a performance, first and foremost. Front row start here today, and you weren't far away from the win. It was a huge effort on your part to get those hard tyres across the checkered flag.
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, it's been a while.
It has.
And yeah, my Discord, the noises that I have when I join a voice call. Yeah, well, it's been a very, it's been a very difficult race. Not gonna lie. Strat was already compromised since the beginning of the race, because people pitting a lot earlier than what we expected. And yeah, well, quali was fine. I was happy with the lap. Little mistake on the last sector cost me. Not pole, but maybe close to it. And yeah, I had to defend Jarno for quite a lot of laps. It was hard, I was aggressive, I had to do it. But on the limit, I believe. I think I didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, happy with this, as I had to also defend with Red Bull cars.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Ishmael, I mean, I get the sense that from what we've seen anyway, in the early startings of this game, obviously dirty air has been a prevalent issue. Very hard to overtake on the game. And is that, would you say, forcing drivers to try the truly weird and wonderful where it comes to strategies, you know, going early onto different tyre sets, probably earlier than we would ever have anticipated on previous version of the games?
It's definitely a lot harder than to overtake than, I don't know, every F1 game, I would say. It could be tied with F1 22.
Wow, goodness me.
But yeah, you saw Jarno, I think he was like 5 laps fresher tires than me. And it was difficult for him. He was a lot quick on the straights, I was quick on the corners, so I could manage a little bit of a gap on the exit of the corners and sector 2. But on the straight he was really rapid. Everyone was, we were a bit high on wings, but I think that saved me, basically.
Yeah, and obviously looking at your own qualifying performance, I mean, a front row start today is massive, and I mean, you've moved to a different team now. How has that transition been since moving across from Williams into Ferrari? Is it been a simple case of just, you know, pick up from where you left off and jump straight in?
I mean, Ferrari has always been a dream of mine, so being here is, you know, I'm hungry, I want to win with the team, with Mari, John, everyone in the team. I'm really excited, but obviously it's just the beginning of the game. Well, the 3 months since the game was released, but we are still learning. We have to find the best setup, best whatever. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I will surely give my best to, you know, give them the win.
And obviously as well, I mean, is the goal to become the first driver since David Tanitsa to win an F1 sim racing world title in terms of drivers' championship?
I mean, we don't know anything about esports yet, so we are still doing PSGL. But obviously,
the biggest championship in the world.
It would be nice to win, not gonna lie. I mean, when you join Ferrari, I think there's a clear vision of what we want, which is to win. So yeah.
Well, I tell you what, congratulations on a massive result. TK, do you have a question for our man Ishmael?
No question. I saw maybe just a few kind of moments of chaos, I think, in the race, but obviously, as you said, maybe on the limit as to where you were putting the race through. Started P2, finished P3. Fantastic race from yourself here today, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ishmael. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Ismail Fassi, P3 in today's race here at Shanghai, China. It looks like he's going to be the only driver we get to speak to. Of course, we would like to speak to you, Lass, but I think he might be a little bit too preoccupied with celebrating right now. It's whilst, of course, there's nothing necessarily up for grabs in terms of prize money, TK, it's all about bragging rights, isn't it, when you come to this series? Because if you're a PSGL PCF1 race winner, that's a essential hallmark of quality, isn't it, really?
Almost certainly, and it's also one of those sort of points of order as you make your way through to F1 esports, which we alluded to earlier. It's got that confidence, but that then snowballs in effect because you know that you can do well at the highest level of competition, and you've got that kind of working in your favour already.
Yeah, you certainly do, folks. And I must say, we hope that you've enjoyed the broadcast and it's been the hallmark of quality as well. We can give you a bit of a look at the calendar that is to come. Of course, we've just ticked China off the list this time. Next up, we go to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps on September 10th for round 7, and that will mark the last date in the first half of our calendar as well, before we head to round 8 at Jeddah on September 17th, Qatar on September 24th for round 9, another break week awaits on October 1st, and then Bahrain on October 8th, and then October 15th for Australia, Melbourne. We go down under for round 11, with Mexico City for round 12th on October 22nd, before Vegas on October 29th, where we'll be rolling the dice for the penultimate round of the season's calendar, and then the grand finale on Bonfire Night November 5th, where the fireworks will be raised and a champion will be crowned for round 14. We hope it's going to be a phenomenal run this season, I have to tell you. Anyway, regardless, if you've enjoyed the show, and we appreciate you stopping by as well, you can check out PSGL. We have, of course, been live on 3 platforms here this evening. If you've tuned in and watched us on Twitch, be sure to leave us a follow. And if you've been tuned in on YouTube, please leave a like and also leave a subscribe. If you're watching, of course, on TikTok, a new platform for us to go live on, please spam that like button and also leave a follow as well. You can also check out PSGL on social media, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at PremierSimGL. And also, if you enjoyed the commentary, you can check us out as well. TK, where can they find you, sir?
I'm on every single social media at They Call Me TK. Just search it up and I'll probably appear. George, how about yourself? Where can they check you out?
Well, we always call you TK, so that's not a problem at all. You can also find me at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok as well. Any final sentiments from you, TK, before we bring an end to the show?
I think China brought a fantastic race for us here this afternoon. Thankfully, no invisible trips demands for our drivers. They all managed to make it through cleanly, and I look forward to the rest of the season.
I nearly did when I hit F5 on my keyboard by accident. That was a close call. But folks, I do appreciate all your support. We all do here at PSGL. Big shout out to our new partners as well, Sim Racing Setups. Be sure to check those guys out as well at the same time. And be sure to tune in for our next race as well. You're not going to want to miss it. Spa-Francorchamps, our next destination. But from all of us here at PSGL, Lasse Zilderim, your race winner, and for the first time in PSGL PC F1 history. We like making history at PSGL. It's what makes us tick. We look forward to seeing you at Spa. From all of us here, goodbye. PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track.